All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are here for another day of the SEA Lower Division, and it is MLP Dota and John X-Fire once again. John, welcome back, sir. A brand new day for us. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Mike. You know, it's the second to last day for the lower div. It's our second to last match, not counting our one tiebreaker match. So we're winding down, which is such a strange feeling. You know, DPC is about to come to a close. The major was just announced a few days ago. But, of course, we have to see this match unfold. Galaxy Racer up against 496. Not much on the line here. Well, not much, I say, but placement could still shift, but we're not going to see, say, someone moving to relegation or someone moving up to the upper div from this match result. It's mainly down to just trying to get about $2,000 more if you place up. So if 496 win, they've got the chance to climb over GXR, get that additional prize pool money. If GXR wins, they hammer their spot in there. So much more important for GXR and 496 to try and get that money. Of course, smaller teams could use all the funds they can get. We'll have to see who does come out on top here. But a bit interesting for GXR. We were having a chit-chat earlier about this. Looks like KYXY is going to be subbed in by In Your Dream. Now, we have seen In Your Dream play for GXR. Especially in the OEDL, he was their registered mid. But now he was replacing Alacrity there, but now you have Alacrity and In Your Dream together. So we'll have to see who plays what here.
It is going to be very intriguing for sure, Jonathan. Before we do go on with the draft, shout out to the Raider in the Twitch chat. I believe he did just provide us with a subscription, so thank you very much, sir. We do appreciate it. And the draft has begun. GXR, they are going to go for the first pick, Grimstroke. By the way, John, I saw you laughing before, and I didn't get to ask you what it was all about, sir. What's so funny to you?
I just got caught off guard by the OG voice lines. Because we've been hearing a lot more, you know, EG and I think Arkosh are the ones we hear. I haven't heard the OG ones. I didn't realize it was the straight rip from True Sight, so it has the music going on in the background. I'm like, oh man, that's so strange, but hey, it's a great spam coming through from 496. I think I saw Bombi with Arkosh, or at least I think he should have Arkosh. So yeah, the anime voice lines, that's gonna be pretty good. 496, they go with a Snapfire. They do get the double pick in this phase. So we'll see what they combo with that. They have the option for Centaur here. Centaur Snap has been very popular. The Centaur as well, just enabling so much mobility for all your heroes, enabling you to just run away from initiation. Also enables heroes like, say, the Medusa from coming out. So if 496 kind of want to go into the Medusa pick, now it's a pretty good time to hammer in something like the Centaur.
Could be. See if 496 want to go for it now. They might just leave it for GXR. Definitely not quite recommended to do that, but see what they do decide. Speaking of voice lines, John, still no SEA teams up for voice lines yet, or support packs for that matter. Very upsetting stuff. Very, very upsetting.
Yeah. It's so strange. I think we will have one. I saw Neon tease a bit about what they might have in store, and I'm in particular very interested in that. I'm sure you are as well, Mike, for Neon. So we'll see when that comes out. 496, surprisingly, actually prioritize a Tiny. So they go into this Tiny pick. We've seen 496 run that on support still. They could go for Snapfire 5, Tiny 4. Probably not ideal because we have seen Tiny 4 just really fall flat. So if that's going to be a core Tiny, likely mid, maybe safe, but just not so common in Southeast Asia. I'm just surprised they prioritize a Tiny. Like, again, Centaur is a much more contested hero. Medusa is something we see hammered in as a core in the first phase as well. And GXR is seeing the Tiny just go Tusk. So they've got their own support duo on hand, Grimstroke Tusk. You could maybe flex a Tusk off lane, but it was KYXY we saw playing that, so I'm not sure if In Your Dream in this case would want to run that. Still a possibility, so it's somewhat open. But regardless of role, Grimstroke Tusk are very aggressive. Just as aggressive as Snapfire Tiny. And you have some decent save with the Tusk. You can kind of dodge out the stun combos with a good snowball as long as that Tusk is in kind of a good position to get that done.
Yeah, that is certainly true. I wonder. I'm more curious about this Tiny from 496 and where they're going to lane that. I mean, we've seen a bit of support Tiny before in the current meta, and it just looks terrible. So I wonder where they are going to put it. It must be a core Tiny coming out here for 496. If it's not, yeah, I mean, the support Tiny is just... It just doesn't feel good anymore. It takes too long. The damage output with the Avalanche Toss, it's nice, but you need it up ASAP with the Blink Dagger. Otherwise, it does tend to drop off. So I am very curious to see what 496 is planning to do with this Tiny. And I suppose, again, with the Tusk, whether they put it in the off lane or whether they put it in the POS 4 role is still up for debate. I'd say it's still probably more than likely going to be the POS 4 here. Considering, like you said, KYXY, he was the off-lane Tusk player. He made it look very good the last time we saw him. Was playing really darn well on the hero, but yeah, I doubt In Your Dream really wants to play off-lane Tusk himself. It's one of those niche pickups in the off-lane, right? Like, you only see a couple of players really playing Tusk off-lane.
Yeah, it's a bit harder to pull off because the Tusk offlane kind of has some weird timings. Like, it plays really well early to mid. Late game, you could go right click if you hit your 2025 talents. But before that point, it kind of feels awkward, and you don't tend to itemize like a usual right click core. You can't really transition smoothly from the offlane into that. So we'll see what the plan is. I think if they are expecting a mid Tiny, 496 aren't banning out to protect the Tiny. They're not banning out stuff like the Bristle. So if they do give this hero to Hung for mid, you have to worry about that Bristle matchup. It's just not fun. I'd say it's one of the matchups you can say is pretty much an insta-lose matchup. As long as the Bristle knows how to skill up his levels, you know, like going for that nasal goo down the line, as long as you don't ignore it, you're fine. Like, I've seen some Bristle players go 0-3-2, and the Tiny can still play around that, because without the slow, he can just move in and out. So it's one thing with the Bristle matchup, but we'll see. 496 probably just pocketing this hard by not opting to show some of those mid ban outs, as they will have the next pick, and they don't have too much reserve time, so got to kind of blitz through the next few picks here.
Yep. It's 496. It's been a bit of a struggle for them throughout Season 2, and you know, you hope they start to pick up a little bit as the games are coming to an end. Looks like for now they are going to go into the DP, which, you know, we do see here and there. It's still a very strong kind of hero. It should be a core DP, though, I would assume, so we could expect it in the middle or the off lane. Maybe even the safe if you really want to be a little bit cheeky here if you're 496, but yeah, I highly doubt it's going to be a support DP like we used to see about a month ago. Ooh. And of course, GXR, Medusa was left. You've got to just take it.
Yeah, 496 are in a really awkward spot. By showing the DP, I mean, you could maybe flex that support, but I think for 496, we tend to see that on that BB on the offlane, if not Hung on mid. So you don't really have supports that can deal with Medusa. Like, maybe you could... No, you don't even have the option for Nyx. If you pick a Lion, you could go Lion 5 or Snap 5, Lion 4, either one swapping around. Tiny mid, offlane DP, you can still kind of have an answer for Medusa, but Lion is not like an all-in-one answer. You don't have the option for the PL to burn true mana. They go to Bloodseeker here, which is kind of nice. You don't really have the best heroes to lock in, and say you blood right the deuce up. That's nice if as long as she turns on her spells beforehand, like pops her ult, turns on the mana shield, maybe pops the snake off before that happens. She should be fine to last through the silence duration. Of course, that is one way to stop the Dusa from casting the Mystic Snake when you have Yags. You've got Death Prophet silence, you've got Bloodseeker silence. As long as you can hold the Dusa down without the defensive item up in the Dusa, and because of the itemization, we don't tend to see that, you should be able to stop the spell spam. So kind of important here for Miracle to maybe opt for a BKB, at least a Manta style before going for the Ags. I think you just need some protection in this game.
Okay. I mean, personally, I'm looking at this Bloodseeker and I don't really see what the point of it was. I mean, the silence is nice, but that's about all that he offers right now in this game. It's kind of like you said with the Rupture, right? Like, the Medusa's not really going to move. It's that hero that's just going to stand its ground and just tank through all the damage you throw at it. It does not need to walk in the middle of a team fight, that's for sure. GXR, how do they want to respond to the Bloodseeker, I wonder? There's a lot of reserve time themselves, but well, you theoretically already have the off-lane and perhaps even the carry of 496 being picked up here. Still a very flexible draft like you mentioned, John, but these heroes, they're not quite as flexible as they used to be. I don't feel like the support DP or the support Bloodseeker is really a thing anymore. I'd much rather them be seen in a core role, but I guess you never really know with 496. They do tend to switch things up quite a bit. GXR, still this fourth pick is taking quite a lot of time.
They could just go Centaur with the Dusa, even with the Bloodseeker around. I don't think it's that bad. You're only gonna have one here to worry about under Stampede and Rupture. They go with the Invoker instead, so that's great to see. That should be our Alacrity special, right? Like, he plays a lot of Invoker. He plays it on the edge. Should be keen to see what they do. They don't have the best hold to maximize Invoker combos. However, you don't really need it. You go towards late game, you just Alacrity to Medusa. Alacrity to Medusa, isn't that funny? Buffs up the Medusa with himself, and then you have a massive machine gun up front. You don't really have enough on 496 to burst through. Like, you have to play fast. You see the Invoker, you see the Dusa, you know these heroes take some time to build up. You have to hit this blink timing in your Tiny, and you have to be ready to run and gun in the Bloodseeker. You can't just sit back and farm up. You have to get that quick Maelstrom, maybe an SNY, just run around, find those kills, melt the towers before the Dusa can really start to outfarm you.
See what the last picks end up being here. One more ban to go from 496 before we do get to continue. Now, just focusing in on those off-lane pickups for GXR, and there's the Centaur you talked about now being banned out, so GXR won't have that option available to them. They basically just want a tanky kind of off-lane. There you go. GXR, they go for the Tide pickup. Makes enough sense. You've got the big Ravage out. And I'd even say the Aghanim Scepter upgrade of the Tide might be quite nice here. Just having that AoE gush going around, giving everyone that slow and minus armor. Of course, the Medusa with the split shot will really enjoy all that minus armor going around to the enemy team. And quite frankly, John, there's not much in the way of dealing with the Tide this game. There's nothing that really counters it out. You could be annoying and just rupture the Tide and keep him standing still, but the likelihood is he's just going to tank through it and keep running forward. And there's a Mirana now coming up from 496. So a bit of an interesting draft, to say the least. Looks like it is going to be that POS 1 Bloodseeker and
Mizu's on the Tide. He's playing offlane. They give In Your Dream the Medusa, which is fair, right? Like, In Your Dream is that I don't think we've ever seen him play off. We've seen him play support in Season 1 in the lower div. He goes back to the safe lane role. Miracle off lane Tide. We'll have to see what he brings out. It's been a while since we've seen him play in that lane.
Right.
496 closing out with Mirana. I don't know about that. Like, you don't have the best setup for stuns. You have your Tiny, I guess. You can play around with that. But you really have to play aggressive. Like, at the least this line has a lot of early burst. You can run around. Again, your key win condition here is to shut down Dusa. Just prevent the Dusa from farming. Ensure Drew has a decent enough lane and build off from that. But GXR, I just feel like they do have the better draft on hand. They've got Ravage plus Stone Gaze. They've got the Ravage plus Cataclysm combo down the line. They've got a lot of ways to protect the Dusa with Snowball, throwing their bodies forward. And, well, they've got that beautiful interaction with Mystic Snake. It's always funny, right? When you see Dusa against Tiny, you turn Tiny into stone. How does that even work? He's already stone.
That is very true, Jonathan, but that is how Dota works, unfortunately. GXR, I do agree. I mean, their draft does look a lot stronger, a lot easier to execute. I'd say 496 will have the advantage maybe early to mid-game, assuming they can win out some lanes. But once that laning stage is over and you get past the mid-game, the Medusa, it's going to be a problem. We all know how the hero works. It is a little bit broken right now, and well, let's get into it. Game number 1 between GXR and 496 set to begin.
Lose together, win together, lose together, win together.
It's the music in the background that gets me. Right? It just suddenly becomes musical.
That is... I never really had a look back at the OG voice lines. I had a quick peek at them, but I completely forgot about the music. But it really does make it sound a lot better. Just... they just couldn't take it out. They had to leave it in, you know?
Yeah. So dramatic, beautiful. We'll have to see what 496 do. As you mentioned, like they've got to play aggressive. Their early game spikes are a lot smoother. They just need to keep finding those kills. Need to shut down the map, get some aggressive wards out. The triangle they've got to really be aware of. They need to keep watching that triangle, prevent the stacks from coming true for the Dusa. If it does come out, In Your Dream's just gonna have a wonderful time past the 10-minute mark. Even if his lane is shut out, he can just keep farming up there.
That he will. It's like, GXR, they're going to set up for the top bounties. Oh, I think I might have, yeah, my volume's a little bit too high for the voice lines. You have to remember that sometimes, John. Alright, it looks like it's going to be a 2-for-2 bounty trade. Nothing too special happening here.
10 people on the line. This is Dota.
Yeah. Going to break out. There's Bombi's voice lines. I was looking for that one. Thank you, Bombi. Animator, anime power.
Slacks is so clever, man. He knew what the people wanted. He knew. You just go that extra step, you know? Slacks knows the team's going to make money off it. He hires a Japanese voice actor. He gets it done. And now everybody wants that voice line.
Yeah, he's a 5-head player, but this start from GXR is also pretty next level. They start with In Your Dream solo. He knows that the Death Prophet and Tiny can't really do much early on. He just plays safe, play by tower, gets last hits. Up top, they're being aggressive with the tri-lane.
That they are. Bombi. Early tag team out from Paulson will lead to a first blood, and that's one thing you've always got to expect when you've got a Grimstroke Tusk against you, is that first blood potential, and well, they make it work already. That'll be first blood gold going to the way of Mizu on the Tide. It's going to make it a lot harder if Mizu can get some items up early on. So the Tide's already quite hard to deal with in the laning phase, but you give him that bonus gold and suddenly it becomes that much more difficult.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot for Mizu to play with. You kind of see the power of that combination. Having Gush plus Tag Team means that even these high armor heroes, relatively high armor like the Snapfire, can just melt if you manage to gap close. For Mizu, he's just trying to hold out. It's a melee lane against melee, so the Tide kind of enjoys that, but Bloodseeker's the kind of hero that just self-sustains. You can just ignore the Tide, keep going for last hits, and farm up that way, and do manage to kind of stabilize your start. So he's still finding some farm. You don't mind your support dropping. They are starting a bit greedy with the pulls. Paulson just wanting to get his levels up, as we tend to see most Tusks go for it, just that little second wave pull to get some EXP. They did lose the range creep, so that kind of hurts the Tusk. He's going to have to soak a bit for the 2, but it does pop in. I think for the side of 496, if they hit their level 3, once they've got Cookie plus either a Value Point in Shredder or 2 levels in Scatterblast, they could look to line up the Blood Right and kind of play that way, but it can't be on Mizu. Mizu just feels a bit too tough. It will have to be that Tusk, and Paulson's just spacing out well.
I didn't realize, John, but I had a look into the mid lane. It's going to be a mid Mirana coming out from Hung. I never picked up on it, but it's Alacrity versus Hung in that mid lane, and Hung is playing the core Mirana, which is something I can't say we've seen for at least a very long time. But there you go. Does this inspire some faith in you, sir?
Not so much, I'm sad to say. I think I've had a lot of talks with friends about Mid Mirana. In lane, he's doing quite nice against Alacrity. The Invoker, he's got a bit of a range disadvantage. Mirana has some really smooth attack animations to try to bully out the Invo. So you are finding that CS advantage, and you can sustain yourself, of course, with the water runes coming through. Invoker doesn't tend to enjoy rushing a bottle. Alacrity's just going to have to juggle his orbs around. The weird thing with Mirana is that it has some interesting power spikes with the Ags. Like, you do have a lot of wave clear and a lot of magic damage flying through from that. The big trap is Ag Shard. Like, that leap charge plus the crit, it's actually not amazing. Like, my friends have all tried it. From Divine all till Immortal 200, they never find a way to make it work. Or at least it feels terrible. So hopefully Hong just focuses on that same Ags build-up, just like an accelerated port from mid, and hit those spikes. So far, he's doing a good job shutting down Alacrity. That's just the one shortfall of the Invoker. Not that great in laning against these much better ranged cores.
Yeah, absolutely. Must admit, John, I've also tried the Mirana shards, and I can confirm it is complete garbage. Absolute garbage. So, if you go the right-click build, obviously it does kind of fit the narrative, but it's still pretty bad. Even with the right-click build, you'd rather probably spend the gold on something else. It's one of those, like, you know, very late-game value items. You know, if you don't have anything better to buy. So, Hung and Alacrity just going at it right now in that mid lane. Meanwhile, top side, looks like Drew is around on the Bloodseeker. Snowball not going to land. Drew does get away with the salve and now might just turn back onto Mizu. Gosh is out, Drew. Get hit by the Anchor Smash as well, and well, the Bloodseeker can't really chase down the Tide. We'll just kind of have to let Mizu go back and salve up himself. I suppose for Drew, as long as he is securing some farm with this Bloodseeker, he should be pretty happy. Definitely still a bit of a rough time for the side of 496, but they are finding the CS, so that's alright.
Yeah, they're making moves bot lane, though.
But they are. 3-4-3 with the Ink Swell in your dream with the follow-up damage. That BB dropping quite low himself will get the kill, but we'll have to die for it. And now Yassi's going to try and go for a run.
Oh no.
He will not make it out. They give the double kill over to In Your Dream. And that is a very concerning kind of point of the game for 496. You never want to give a double kill away to Medusa this early.
No, this is a fantastic start for In Your Dream. 27 to 11, 12 denies, just controlling the lane up. Not much that BB can really get done. He's not slowing down CS. He's not finding as much farm himself. And they try to play aggressive with a tiny support, but once it falls behind, it's going to be hard. Although Mizu...
He does get caught out this time. They'll get the Tide. Yassi was even around with the TP just in case they needed it. It's a pretty important kill there for Drew. Meanwhile, mid lane, Hung got cold snapped, but there's not really going to be much follow-up to it. In fact, Yassi now has made the rotation over on the Tiny. So Alacrity does have to be a little bit more careful with his positioning. Yassi now going to try and move in. 3-4-3 going to be around to secure the haste rune. Alacrity should just be safe now, considering he does have that haste. In fact, he's going to go into Hung. A nice silence out from 3-4-3. That'll set up on the Mirana. You can't forget, John, that is a mid Mirana that just went down, so definitely a very bad kind of scenario for 496.
Yeah, it's just not lining up. The early aggression we needed to see from them in lanes aren't coming out. The fact that they've got the mid Mirana just kind of trying to farm up, whereas the Tiny's under pressure to go around the map, means that it's harder to get the initiation. Tiny has to walk up or get a good toss to start these fights, whereas a Mirana, if he was on the floor, you could just walk with an arrow. Still, they'll go on to Mizu.
Nice cookie dodge. Mizu, still not level 6. Can't commit Ravage. Bloodrite is going to be there. They should have the damage output as Paulson tried to help out, but there's only so much he can do on the task. Alacrity even TPing up to try and help as well, but he's a bit too early to the party, or rather too late. And now there's not really much to do for him. Just going to have to make a run back into the mid lane on that Invoker. So 496, all things being said and done, still not doing too bad. They are pretty much evening out in terms of net worth. In fact, Yassi now is going to run into 3-4-3, but as I said, John, support Tiny, the damage isn't really there.
Nah, it's just way too slow. It needs a lot of levels to really get going. Blink timing here for Yassi is not going to be quick as well, because obviously you're not on farm priority. So we'll see what more Yassi can do. He just kind of needs to soak a lane. He's been playing mid while it's free. think that's all you really want. Get some EXP, hit your 6
Oh,
up top.
Ravage. Top lane. They do rupture up the tide. Mizu still going to survive. Snowball in. They're going further. The rupture is over. They cannot kill him off. That's a great snowball in from Polison. Just really well timed. And Mizu, after the rupture ended, he just kind of stood his ground and never died.
Yeah, I thought that snowball might have been a bit risky with moving forward, but they managed to get the kill. They get a good fortify while that BB is trying to shove in the bot lane as well, so they're going to be able to trade for the top quite nicely, knowing that the DP can't come in for the defense.
Well, at the very least, they do end up getting the Tide Hunter. Mizu ends up dying to Yassi with the Avalanche toss. Yassi having a look around, see if you can fight 3-4-3, but you've got it in your dream around to boot, so it's definitely a very risky kind of proposition here for the Tiny. Still going to have a bit of a look around as Hung, with the Moonlight Shadow and double damage, was behind the tier 1 tower. They really want to try and go for this. In your dream, he can kind of tell something's wrong. They still run in, Avalanche, and Toss is going to be on the Grimstroke instead. And now they might try to turn Mizu. He's TP'd up. But again, you don't really have the Ravage to play with. So no lockdown here. I suppose on the brighter side for GXR is you don't really lose the Medusa. You'd rather 3-4-3 just kind of tank the gank, and for In Your Dream to just go back into the triangle.
Yeah, and they're getting that farm out. Do have to say 496's wards are on point. They've got that ramp ward on the top tier 1. They've got the triangle ward by the ramp as well. Looks like 343 is maybe going to check, and he does find D ward, but they were getting lots of good information. They made great use of their clump up. The one issue there is that they find a support, but you saw the Invoker just kind of sitting mid. Alacrity was sort of open for the rotation. They were just trying to force the issue on Medusa. On the short lane, it's feasible, but not as easy as, say, a pincer movement on mid. Now you can see Alacrity just kind of looking around. He knows that BB still doesn't have that EXO, but he's playing safe. They've got level 6 up on Paulson. So they do have the burst damage on hand with Walrus Punch. If you do overstep, you could find yourself melting a bit quick there.
Yeah, speaking of overstepping, Mizu ends up going down as Drew committed the rupture, and with the Mortimer's Kisses, they did have the damage output. So very nice kill there from 496. They even out the kill score now 6-6. It's GXR, I mean, they still are fighting down to that bot side. That BB, he's been caught out, but with the Spirit Siphons, they just can't get the damage output. Alacrity goes down. That BB now will continue the chase up on Polison. He pops the ulti as well.
Ooh.
It's not going to mean enough damage onto Polison, but nevertheless, they can still go for that bottom tier 1 tower. Definitely not a wasted ultimate. They should be able to clean up that tier 1 very easily.
Yeah, that's big for 496. They finally find the Invoker, who is left alone for a bit too long. They get a good use of that EXO into tier 1 push. They open up that bot lane, and they keep the aggression. This is exactly how they need to play. Playing fast, always looking for openings. They smoke up, and they could find some, well, not the juiciest target, but a free one in Paulson, maybe.
Yes, he's going to find him. Still holding onto the Avalanche, just being very patient with the toss-up, and now the cookie into the arrow. That's a perfect little combination there from 496. That's what you love to see with these kind of drafts, that early aggression. And this is what we talked about in the drafting stage. You want to really try and dominate the mid-game if you're 496. You do not want to wait too long up against this Medusa draft. Even though In Your Dream is still the top net worth on the board, at least 496 is kind of clearing out the map and just trying to take over.
Yeah, and they're getting some good movement onto mid. They're getting some great damage on that tier 1. Galaxy Racer do have Ravage, but they need to come in.
They're going to move in now. Tornado EMP out. In Your Dream, he's denied off that tier 1 tower. Now the Silent Sound does catch the Bloodseeker into the Soulbind, but do they have the damage? It doesn't look like it. In fact, Yassi just tosses around In Your Dream into a double cookie up from Bumpy. 3-4-3 will drop. 496, they'll keep going. There's your Ravage out. They found the tiny Yassi. He'll be the second to fall. Onto Dap BB. They'd love the Death Prophet, but he's going to survive. And 496, they want to try and turn back around. Onto Mizu. In Your Dream, going to juke out the arrow. Mizu, he's still going to be all right. 496 now falling very low. Have to back. They are going to be successful in doing so. GXR unable to hold anyone else down. So it ends up being a 1-for-1 trade. But A very close call for both teams.
Yeah, they managed to get the advantage for 496 because the tower's gone. They don't get the gold. Very nice movement out from In Your Dream to get that deny off. But you're opening up the map. Bot tier 1 gone, mid tier 1 gone means the jungle's not safe. Hong's already invading some of those camps. You have to keep your vision game up. And it's just about that time where In Your Dream will just really just AFK farm that triangle. No wards there. So he's still sort of protected. They need this Orchid to be done on Alacrity soon. It feels like they're lacking some additional control, some burst on hand. Once you have the silence on your Invoker, you could look for the burst play onto those bigger cores. You want to kill off that BB. You want to kill off Drew, prevent the Bloodseeker from keeping up this near farm parity. He's about 1K behind Medusa, which isn't too bad for a Bloodseeker, considering how much Medusa sits in that jungle.
That's
So
certainly isn't.
it's still looking good here for 496. They do smoke up. They do have Rupture backup, so they can look for a play.
They're going to try. Into the mid lane they go. Oh, they'd love Alacrity, but he does get the Ghost form off and just makes a run. Meanwhile, that BB ends up dropping down at the bot side of the map. Still Alacrity, he was dusted up. A nice toss in onto Bombi.
Ooh.
Alacrity's still going to be alright, as now they might be able to just join in a turn. 343 going to lose his courier, but still goes in and finds Bombi on the Snapfire. They take him down though. He's going to try and cookie out with the stick charges. He might be alright. Shards are going to be there into the snowball. Bombi not going to be able to get the deny off. Close, but not close enough. 496, they immediately rush to the bot side of the map to try and keep the farm up on Drew. And they might be able to set up onto Mizu. I think they might have time to respond though. Mizu, he's going to have the Rupture up in 5, and it looks like 496, they are not going to bother. They'll just keep the farm up, maybe feeling like they are falling behind a little bit. And again, you do have to be very cautious about this draft going into GXR's draft. You don't want to wait too long. In Your Dream, well, he's not working towards the Aghanim Scepter yet, but once the SNY is up, I think that'll be his next item. And once that Ags is up, everything changes.
Oh yeah, that's when it gets really scary. He's going to be online, he's going to be freezing people up, stoning your Tiny, which still doesn't make sense. But it's still a long way off. Like the SNY just kind of delays that timing, so you have to watch yourself. But once the Axe is up, you worry because we didn't talk about this, but Soulbind double miss is just devastating.
Yassi caught out. Paulison, nice shots to block him in. Bombi gonna try and help, but Yassi, he was turning the wrong way, and In Your Dream, of course, will give the tip over to Paulison for the kill setup. Again, very bad news here for 496. And having a cheeky look back at Hung right now, John, is the farm isn't really too impressive on this Mirana. His net worth is fine, sitting at 3rd, but he's going to have a Manta up soon. I don't really know how much it's going to do for him. You're going to go Diffusal Blade next, which does kind of deal with the Medusa a little bit, but I don't know. I think it's going to be too late of a Diffusal. And again, once she has the Ags up, you're not really going to care what Hung brought out.
Yeah, you just can't burn through all that regen unless you really clump up like 5 heroes just focusing the Medusa, which means that the rest of GXR are either dead in an ideal scenario, or they're just allowed to do what they want. So there's a lot of trade-offs there. There's a blink up now as well on Mizu, but there's a Moonlight out. It does fade on 496. Be cautious.
Hung, Cold Snap, Silence out. Alacrity gonna land the Inkswell into the Stroke of Fate and the Snowball, just in case. That's what you hate to see, John. Your mid laner dying like that solo is never going to feel good. But that's exactly what just happened.
Yeah, just going too far in on that bot jungle. They kind of lost their wards here from 496. Their wards are really just rampant entrance wards. Nothing really to find a specific information in jungle. So going in blind, getting punished for it. And GXR, well, it's a freebie kill for them. They keep stalling out for the Medusa. In Your Dream, SNY was finished. 3 parts away from the Ags. You are hitting that massive timing, and they have not killed him. We've been talking about them finding these pickoffs, slowing down the game. They've never killed In Your Dream despite that. So I think GXR have been perfectly fine with those trades. And 496, they need to do more in that jungle. They need to get some more vision out. Need to keep trying to stop this farm game from happening. Otherwise, you hit the 20-minute mark, you've got to deal with a very fat Medusa.
That you do. He's gonna have that axe very soon. In your dream, 1.5k gold away. You're still looking for those answers here from 496. Drew's just desperately trying to farm up a BKB, but now they're just going to cut him off. He'll try to go for a run, but Alacrity going to spot him out with the Orchid. But they aren't going to keep going as Drew was a bit too tanky. Meanwhile, Paulison on the tusk, going to be spotted into the toss back. It's going to be a snowball to buy some time, but he should definitely just be dead here, and he does go down. Bombi the one to make sure he takes the kill this time, and looks like 496, they're going to try and rush a Roshan attempt.
Yeah, this could be risky. There is Ravage Blink on Mizu. He's around the mid lane, so he scouted out for the Sunstrike. If they keep forcing it, I mean, it is going fast, but the follow-up fight might not end up well.
Nice Tornado, EMP. Force them out, and they've dropped too low on HP. Drew, he's going to try. This is very dangerous, though. They might just rush in here. Roshan dropping low. Shards are out to get Vision Snowball. Not going to be to the Roshan. They'll let it go down, but they got Yassi on the Tiny. Into the DP now. DPC going to drop as well. So they let the Roshan go. They give the Aegis away. Drew, he is very low in terms of HP right now. The GXR, they get 2 kills for their trouble. And quite frankly, I don't think they mind about the Aegis going down like that. It seems like they're more than fine with it. In fact, if they found Hung, that'd be even better. And they spot him out now. Hung needs to back off. In fact, never mind. They go in with Bombi.
No.
There's your Soulbind down into the double silence. He can't leap away right now. He'll try to Manta it off, but another Soulbind down. Avalanche Toss not going to do enough. He drops on the Marana, and there goes your Bloodseeker as well.
Oh, God.
Drew's going to drop. Your Aegis already gone. Yassi going to keep moving in, trying to get something for the team. But what are they going to find? Nice TP cancellation. Mizu's going to have to make a run. Paulison still survives the Avalanche Toss. He's going to go for a snowball. At least Drew does get the tide. They're still chasing onto Paulison, trying to get another. Alacrity, Chaos Meteor. Not going to do anything. They dust up just to make sure he can't Ghost Walk away. Meanwhile, Paulson going to try and TP out, but it's not going to be in time. He does buy enough time for Alacrity to get out, but at least 496. While they do lose the Aegis, they get something for their trouble.
Yeah, really important kills, but they're not finding big ones. And In Your Dream now has the Ags. So when this next fight breaks out, the next soul binds up. Double Mystic Snake flying through. Could you ask for anything more? That just sounds absolutely busted if it is allowed true. And 496, they've still got some gas in the tank, right? Like they've still got some fuel left in them, but they need to start playing faster. After that Roche, ideally that Aegis would have allowed them to go for a tier 2. Now they've got to maybe regroup. They do have the Exorcism back up on the DP, so they should just look to commit an objective right now and force a response out.
Top tier 2. Gonna be glyphed up. That was the Exorcism pop, so you'd imagine 496 do want to keep going. They definitely aren't going to back off after that committal. Just a matter of whether GXR want to try and fight. But it looks like they're going to be more than happy to just let this go down and try to push the top tier 2 instead. Thought maybe you'd want to try and take the fight with that Aghanim Scepter up, but I suppose with the Exorcism you do want to be a bit more careful as 3-4-3 now has been scouted. Hung, not going to land the arrow. Bloodright going to be dropped, and with the Avalanche, it's going to make sure... Oh! They hit the Invoker!
Oh!
The arrow got Alacrity in the backside. He didn't see it coming. In Your Dream now is going to show up and show off the Aghanim Scepter. That's a great shards block as well to block the palming, but Drew doesn't care. He's going to try and go for the Medusa fight onto In Your Dream, but there's your Ravage up. Mizu right in to help out In Your Dream. Now the stones just flying out onto Bombi, DPC, and Hung. They are going to try and turn onto Paulison. They'll get one, but they can't fight the Snake Lady In Your Dream. He's just going to keep chasing, and so will Mizu. That BB may barely survive, but a Mystic Snake not going to reach. He's going to be alright, and 496, they get the most out of that team fight. At the very least, GXR, they do get the T1 mid tower. In fact, they found Bombi. Stroke of Fate, gonna connect, and there's your silence out. Mizu with the gush. 3-4-3 will say thank you very much.
That was not as clean for 496 as they'd like. I mean, they're going to be happy about finding Alacrity, but losing Drew, losing your one big pause one is pretty big to trade off. Giving In Your Dream a lot of space to just live is also nice here for GXR. The good news for 496 is that the BKB is up for Drew. So he's going to be able to run in, not worry about the snake, only really worry about the Stone Gaze from coming out, and he can just focus on trying to get some damage off, trying to kill off the top of the back line.
He tried to get a solo kill onto 343. Unfortunately for Yassi, the team was around, and it only cost him his own life. As they get the outpost back, GXR, and they are starting to feel a lot stronger. The net worth graph, it's been a bit all over, but well, that BB said it. That's exactly what they've been doing on the side of 496, but it's about time GXR grouped up and slayed together, as Seb would say.
Yeah, they are smoking up as free. They don't have Ravage on Mizu, so it could be a bit harder to find those kills, but they're already pretty darn big on Alacrity. At least if you do manage to get the Orchid use off, you could still find a pick off. No one really here, so it's a bit of a missed smoke opportunity for GXR. 496 just disciplined together much more cohesively near that top jungle. They're not really able to stop In Your Dream. Like, the Scotty is one part off. It's about 900 gold, so once that's up, the Deuce is just going to be so much harder to hold down. Drew and that BB won't have as much sustain in the middle of these fights with that healing reduction as well. So you will have to watch it. Like, it's that point now at 25 minutes in where the Deuce is starting to overtake in a big way, and we're just not seeing the itemization come through from 496. Like, you mentioned the defusal on Hung. He's just about to pick it up. He's still 300 gold off that recipe. It's just not fast enough to really counteract this Dusa.
Hung. Stick around that top side and just try to finish that diffusal blade off. Does have enough gold now to just pick it up and buy it outright. Mid lane, Yassi and Bombi trying to set up for a future fight, but Paulison spotted him out. Tag team. He's not going to get a hit off. Yassi, bit too quick with the fingers there. Does blink out. 496, they are still hanging around. You've got Hung in an invis room right now. Two on Paulison. Be around to help if they try to go, and they do. Alacrity going to be targeted, but the Inkswell's already there. The Soulbind, the Snowball, they will save the day into the Ravage. Mizu setting up perfectly, and that's going to be at least Yassi dropping. They will not be able to burst down Alacrity. He does make it out. And GXR, they read them like a book, John. And 496, they tried, but get the damage up, put the burst, it's just not there.
It's not enough, and Paulson was super quick with that blink snowball save. Just one of those things with a Tusk. You have to know where he is. You have to prevent that blink from flying out if you want to get that burst off, because if he's around, he can just protect quite nicely. And they're circling around for Drew now up top.
I mean, why the hell not? He's all alone. Paulison gonna miss the shards, but it won't matter too much. He's got the snowball in the tag team. Drew not gonna try and TP out. He's gonna try and fight this, but he's all by himself. Hung's gonna come in and try and help out. He'll make a run for it. Meanwhile, Hung onto Paulison, but there's just Stone out. He's been silenced up. He's gonna drop. It's just not worth it. Not for a support Tusk. Maybe though they can find a bit more. That BB. He's gonna try going on with the Spirit Siphon and the Exorcism, but the damage output is not that high. Instead, they'll go on to 3-4-3, and they'll be able to get a Grimstroke kill for their trouble. Meanwhile, Yassi, he was trying to find a bit more for the team, but he's going to have to try and make a run. Alacrity going to be right behind him with a Tornado ready whenever he needs it. It does connect. That BB still going to be there to try and help out. It looks like 496 may be forced to just back off as the Exorcism is wearing off. Still 496. It is impressive that they are fighting back with a draft like this that is slowly but surely kind of dying off in terms of power spike. They are definitely putting up a decent fight here up against GXR in game 1.
Yeah, and they're very happy Drew did not drop. He was right on the edge, but once you start dropping some HP on GXR side, the Bloodseeker can just kind of run out. So 496 are still holding on. There's not much progression being done by GXR in terms of objectives. There's no Roshan to play for. They don't have the best forward wards right now from Galaxy Racer, compared to 496 with at least some defensive wards. They need some vision here to really keep that aggression up. And for now, it looks like they're going to be satisfied by having In Your Dream slowly chip away, but Moonlight Shadow is up.
And it is. Yassi, he's going to have a look to see who he can initiate on, and you'd love to start with 3-4-3, and they are going to try with the Avalanche toss out, but it's not enough. 3-4-3 going to survive the initial onslaught, trying to find a Soulbind. He will get it just before he dies, and now the Ravage is out into the Cataclysm. They kind of screwed up the combo, but it won't matter too much. Bombi's gone, onto DapBB. They'll get the DP to boot. Drew's going to try and run, but Paulson's all over it with the snowball out and the tag team. It's going to be too much damage. A triple kill out for In Your Dream, and 3-4-3 he barely found. Just barely got the Soulbind off in time. And you saw how perfect the Ravage was right after from Mizu. Just the timing and coordination from GXR has been really on point this game.
They've been so coordinated. Love how fast the response times from each player is as well. See how fast Mizu is to blink in after they spot out the Soulbind, get the Ravage off, and clean up. And Paulson, again, with a snowball save to delay that. He kept 3-4-3 alive long enough for them to get vision, turn around, although In Your Dreams can be chipped away.
They're draining the mana. Yassi looking for a tossback is not going to find it, and now he may be in danger. But no, Paulson is going to back off with the rest of his team. They're going to try and smoke up and chase them down now. No Ravage for Mizu, but they want the big one. They'd love the Medusa. But no, Paulson is going to be targeted. They land the arrow, and they will find the Tusk. Is he just not feeling confident that they'd even be able to kill off In Your Dream while the Tusk is still around? Now they might just try for this Roshan attempt.
Yep, that's going to be a bigger one. This is something that GXR won't want to give out. There's Aegis Cheese and the Ag Shard, but they won't have Ravage for 50, so it's going to be a bit too long. The Rosh melts a bit quickly here. They need to make a quick move in if they want to contest this.
It looks like they don't even know what's happening. I suppose if they do, maybe they don't want the 4v5, but there you go. There's the Sunstruck to scout it out. Yassi, he's right in. Who has he found? It's going to be In Your Dream. They found the big one. Mana is gone. In Your Dream, he's going to try and fight, but he was completely surrounded. It is going to drop. That's a big one. 80 seconds down for In Your Dream. Well, now we know it's possible to kill off the Medusa. That's a great start for 496.
I think that stems to In Your Dream's itemization. Of course, he didn't feel the need for a BKB. He didn't feel the need for something to dispel off the silences. So you saw the chain stunts, the chain silences. He couldn't get off his Stone Gaze. He couldn't use the Snake. We'll need at least one defensive item, right? I think at this point you just maybe get a casual BKB. Damage doesn't feel like an issue. He's got the Satanic up for self-sustain. So you can kind of hold out. Now GXR need to play 4 versus 5 for 40 seconds. They do have Ravage to play with at least, so their high ground defense isn't too bad here.
They're going to try. Without your Medusa, though, you're going to be lacking so much damage control, but Miracle is right in with a massive Ravage out and the Cataclysm. Oh, what an initiation out from Mizu. And now they've even got the Bloodseeker trapped up. Drew, he is going to pop his BKB and try to get a Rupture out onto Mizu, but he's just going to walk away. Alacrity now with the Tornado EMP. Bombi, he's going to have his mana drained. He gets a nice cookie off. Still Paulson is in with the Snowball. They will get one, and now they even cancel the TP of DapBB. Into the Shands he goes. And it's going to be a cold, cold world for DapBB. He does drop. 496. It was a great high ground attempt. I didn't think GXR could defend like that. But that is a big, big Ravage. And Alacrity, of course, with the Cataclysm follow-up. It was a lot of damage output.
Oh yeah, and they've still got that Wombo combo outside of the Dusa. They've got that Tide Invoker. It's just so darn strong. And we just see it from Mizu. Miracle. Playing on point from the offlane. He's just getting all the initiation right. He's getting all of his timings right. He's got the Ags up that you were talking about from draft, by the way. So there it is, that AoE gush minus armor to help In Your Dream do some damage. It's going to be hard for 496 to sustain. They've got great D-push as well, and they're going to chase.
Oh, Shards not going to lock him in. He had the spider legs. Interesting to note as well, Mizu, he went for the Aghanim Scepter upgrade, but he kept the Orb of Corrosion. I thought, excuse me, not the Orb of Corrosion, the Orb of Destruction. I thought he may go for the Quickening Charm that they just found on GXR and kind of just amplify the Gush even more and just lower that cooldown, but it looks like he's happy with the 7-second cooldown for now. No, keeps the Orb of Destruction instead.
I think that's pretty fine. Like, you get value because you're going to go in with the Anchor Smash anyway, so you get it in a nice AoE for everyone, just playing on the minus armor to apply for the team. Spam ability is nice, but I don't think shaving those few seconds off does too much yet. Maybe once you hit level 25 with your cooldown reduction, if you opt for it, you can really pile on there. Right now, just focusing on enabling the Dusa to melt heroes up front, and they smoke up. They've got the Stone Gaze up. They don't have Ravage, but it will be back up in about 5 seconds, so they could look for a big kill here, but 496 are smoked as well.
They are. They have the high ground advantage right now, so 496 need to be very cautious. Just going to be on the opposite side of the river right now. In Your Dream, going to reveal himself with that Mystic Snake, but Hung is going to be right behind, trying to find an angle to go in. Cheeky arrow out. He's just going to land on a range creep. It's going to kind of reveal that 496 is right behind GXR at the moment. But 496, they're going for the top tier 1 tower. They don't seem to want to fight into GXR when everything is up. And that's absolutely fair enough. But they are going to allow that mid tier 2 to drop for free. And of course GXR is going to move into the triangle now. I wonder at what point 496 think to themselves that they could fight again. Drew is pretty big on the Bloodseeker, so it's not like you're lacking too much damage. It's just about being able to survive the initial onslaught that comes with the Ravage and Cataclysm and of course the Mystic Snakes that fly out. If you can get past that initial initiation from GXR, you probably will be able to fight back if you are 496.
Yeah, I think the Deuce is a bit too big now, though. Level 25 is up for In Your Dream, so he's got the split shot, uses modifiers. With a Satanic, you really have to burst her down in that chain stun window. If you don't, one right click, she's going to be back to full HP.
Well, there's an arrow. No follow-up to it yet. They'll get to tier 3. Onto the melee barracks now In Your Dream. Just being very careful. He doesn't want to get hit by an arrow from Hung. They are slowly just chipping away as Hung now gets stoned up. Here comes the Mortimer's Kisses to the Soul Blight and the Ravage again into the Cataclysm. They just blow them up. Oh, Mizu, he's been really on point with these Ravages. There'll be a buyback out from Hung, but GXR, they'll be happy to back off now. There's no need to rush. The Cataclysm, it didn't quite blow up the support, the backlines, but it won't matter too much as now they go back in onto DapBB. He's going to try and Tornado up and survive as 3-4-3. He does drop at the Grimstroke. Drew, he will go in onto the supports and get both of them onto Alacrity now. He loved the Invoker. Nobody's helping out. Drew, though, is still by himself. In Your Dream, meanwhile, just trying to fight the whole team by himself, but he's going to drop. 496, they aren't able to fight back. Getting a bit of a wipe themselves here. They make the buybacks worthwhile. And,
Pick it up, Mortimer.
well, they haven't lost much yet. It was only a tier 3 tower that dropped. No Raxes down in this game as of yet for either team. So it's still anyone's game.
Yeah, it's just a bit risky for In Your Dream to try and go for that man fight. Like, sure, he has the Satanic, but he still doesn't have anything defensive, so the silences still ruin him. The Scotty from Drew is preventing his Satanic, even with the split shot modifiers, to do much for him. Like, once they focus him down, as long as the rest of his team isn't around, you isolate the Dusa, he will drop, and GXR were just forced in a really awkward position there. Kind of caught out. They're going to have to defend without the Ravage for a minute. They do have the buyback in the Dusa if they want it, but 496 have a massive opening here if they want to force the issue.
And Drew's going to move in onto that tier 3 tower, try to get a trade going. They'd love to get that buyback out of In Your Dream to boot. Arrow is going to scout out the side of GXR as they move into the bot tier 3 tower now. One right is there. Snowball has been committed. They are moving in. Shards out on Yassi. Nobody really getting caught out yet here from 496. They're going to try and at least get that other tier 3. But it looks like within your dream sporting up in 10 seconds, they do not want to risk giving a wipe away to GXR. They are just going to back off. Still very scary stuff for either team, John. Just you just kind of have no idea who's really winning this game.
Yeah, it's really commendable for M496 to keep holding out. Like, every time GXR finds some kills, it's usually just the supports coming through, or maybe the DP, maybe the Mirana, but they never catch out Drew, at least in the past few fights. So Drew's just been allowed to keep building up. He's doing a lot of work. The Scotty just completely ruins what Inner Dream's trying to do in the Dusa, which is just stay alive through lifesteal. So you're not able to just man fight in the middle as long as Bloodseeker is hitting you. It feels like he needs a BKB or something just to prevent those silences. Like, if he's just not chain stunned, he could maybe live through a lot better than he is right now, but he is going all in on damage. Daedalus up. This could make the difference if you get some lucky hits off with the split shot using his modifiers.
Lacrity's in trouble. Bot lane, he's been caught out by himself, and they'll have the damage. They even pop the Exorcism of mid lane. It looks like they do find out one in Bombi. So they do trade, but that was your mid Invoker dropping. And 496 should still feel like they have the advantage to move into the high ground, especially while the Exorcism is going. And that's exactly what that baby wants to do. They just gotta wait for a creep wave, and unfortunately there's not much time left on the ulti. But they should have just enough to get the tier 3 tower. In fact, never mind, they'll glyph again. Paulison. Oh, no Aura's Punch connecting. Bloodright's going to be there to protect. In fact, Yassi is out with the toss, but now the Soulbind. Let's lock them in. They are going to hold hands and run together. GXR, they are unable to capitalize, but they do ensure that Alacrity does not have to buy back.
They stall out the push just a bit. Tier 3 lives for now as well, so the lane's not opened up for a split push from 496. And GXR, at the least with a respawn coming through, they could maybe eye the Roche. They can't allow any of these Roshans to go 496's way. It just means that they can't kill off Drew, because they've only, when the Aegis goes the way of 496, they usually only find the Aegis life. They're way too low in HP by the time the second life comes in, and he just runs around the complete board. You gotta kind of get him in one shot, get that protection for In Your Dream he desperately needs. An Aegis or a cheese. You need to give him something here, and the next Roche is still about half a minute off, but they're starting to get some control in the area, which is good news for GXR. 496, when that Roche respawns, they will have the Exo back up. Moonlight is a bit far off, so you're not going to have that option, but Drew has his Butterfly flying in. And you don't have anything like an MKB here in Your Dream, so this is going to be a massive durability boost for Drew and a massive DPS boost as well.
Certainly will be. Collison, very risky stuff there in the mid lane. Yassi, he's going to keep having a look around. See what he can find. A bit of a group up in that dire jungle. Might see a big smoke up soon here from 496, as they do have that Exorcism up once again, and the Roshan is available. GXR, though, they are going to be looking to do the same thing as Yassi. He got a toss back. He found 343. That'll be a Grimstroke gone, but he's going to buy back immediately. GXR, they cannot afford to allow the Roshan to go down to 496. It is the third Roshan of the game as well, so you have a refresher shot on there. Definitely very dangerous stuff here for GXR, as now the smoke is up. They move in again In Your Dream. He's frontlining. Arrow is not going to connect. They might be able to still fight back. They are going to try with the Stone Gaze, and now the Ravage out with the Cataclysm again. Oh, Mizu. Just on target every time. They'll buy back on Yassi. You've got a buyback available on that BB. He is not buying back yet, though. There it is now. He does commit. Yassi's going to move in with the Avalanche Toss Alacrity. He does drop Hung. He's going to try and move in onto Mizu. Get rid of the Tide. But they don't have the damage yet. Meanwhile, Yassi going to be chased down. This could be a dieback, as Alacrity did just buy back. A nice scatter blast out from Bombi. Might just save the day, but no, the Tornado is going to land in Yassi. He's going to try and run, but he does not get too lucky with the uphill misses. It's going to be 2 down without buyback here for 496. How do you fight without your Exorcism up? It's going to be very hard. Hung He's going to get some vision out with the arrows, but now they know exactly where he is. And he only has 2 leap charges. So the Walrus Punch is there. Paulson going to lock him down, and now the Orchid out. He'll Manta, but now the Tornado going to be there into the Ice Path. Hung, he's going to try and jump over the cliff, but they have the control, they have the vision. He'll eat the cheese. No more leaps left, though. He is set to fall. He bought a tiny bit of time, but for his own dieback like that, it's just not worth it. He's gone for 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's way too much time. That's going to be the Aegis, Cheese, and Refresh going the way of GXR. You already have the Refresh Orb on Mizu. If they want, they could just give, I guess, Alacrity the Refresh Shard. You know, have double Cataclysm up. But triple Ravage would actually be really nice for Mizu if he has the mana pool for it. So we'll see how they do prioritize that. They can go into the high ground now. The buyback is off cooldown for Hung, so you can try to come back in for the defense. With 496 now, they're not too far behind the net worth still, but you are seeing the Deucer really pull ahead.
There's what you asked for, by the way, John. The double Cataclysm is now available for Alacrity. So Mizu, he lands 1 Ravage, and this game should be over pretty darn fast. Because there's not much you can do about double Cataclysm unless you can get out of range. But that is a double Ravage you're also going to cop.
Yep. Oh, scary. We've seen him blow up heroes now with damage output is really good.
True. Oh, he's been caught out. A nice soul bind there with the Walrus Punch. And now the first Cataclysm is going to connect. It's not so much damage, but they've got through. He is down with that buyback. Onto Hung. He's going to try and fight. He'll get Polison on the task, but he can't get it in your dream. Hung. Gonna find a way in. They are dropping the mana pool very low in your dream. In fact, he is completely out of mana now. They might be able to secure the Aegis, but no. He is healthy once again. With the Mystic Snake, the man, he just regens too darn fast. And even with the Exorcism up, losing their Pos 1 Bloodseeker does mean they are lacking so much damage and control. That's 1 Rax down. Onto the top. Ravage, Mizu, he's got it again, another one into the Cataclysm, they're going to blow him up. Hung has died back, and that should be it. How do you fight without your mid or your safe lane? In fact, make that a 3rd now. Bombi dropping, 3 down with that buyback, they call it, they've had enough. But what a game it was, John. Game number 1, 496 displaying to us why they were considered one of the best teams in SEA, at least in 2020. They put up a real great fight into GXR, but GXR does manage to make it work.
Yeah, again, a bit surprising how the draft went out. We didn't see Medusa banned out. We didn't really see the Centaur banned out, so one of those combos could have flown out. And 496 kind of preempt that with the Bloodseeker, right? Like, they want to prevent Stampede from being an issue. They wanted to have a way of stopping that combo with Medusa. But then you see Mizu step into the play, take over for KYXY in the off lane, plays an amazing time. Like, all his Ravages, I think, were on point. Every single one.
He won them the game.
Just amounting pretty much. Like, he's set up, and it's just outstanding. GXR played better. 496 were really good, though. Like, they held on with this draft that looked like it should have died by 25, and they dragged game for an additional 20 minutes. So they have a really good play style to them. They might be struggling here in the lower div. You know, they came from upper div in season 1. They're kind of placing in the lower middle of the pack here. But you can see why they were in that upper div anyway. At their best, they look pretty darn hot. So we'll see if they can bring that kind of playstyle back, force a game 3, or whether or not GXR can just ride at 2-0 series and climb up, get that extra $2,000 in the placement.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, John, I'm very excited now that we've just seen how game 1 went. Hopefully game 2 is just as entertaining for us and, of course, the lovely viewers watching. And of course, with that, we are going to be back after a short 10-minute break to see how Game 2 does pan out. For now, it is MLP Dota and John X Fire, and we'll probably be cat jamming in the chat. So we'll see you guys there, and hopefully see you guys again in 10 minutes. ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. We are here for our second game of this best of 3 series between 496 and Galaxy Racer Esports. It is MLP Dota and John X5 once again. John, welcome back, sir. How are you feeling after that game 1?
I'm feeling great. Game 1 was a great showing from both sides. We saw 496 hold out very long, trying to make the draft work going towards the late game, but at some point, In Your Dream and Miracle were just too much. Like Miracle, Mizu on that tide, getting those big ravages with the Invoker combo was just way too much to deal with. So we'll see if 496 kind of fix their playstyle. It looked like they were taking it a bit too slow early on. They needed to really invade that jungle, prevent the farm from coming out, take some quicker towers with their DP, but they didn't really make too much headway on the high ground. The defense was too good from Galaxy Racer. You see the initial bans and picks as well. Galaxy Racer go with a puck, and the Medusas left in the pool for both sides to take in the first phase. So 496 want to dip into it for Drew. They could. They start with a Grimstroke first. They will follow straight into the clock, so they've got an aggressive duo on hand. Surprised they don't take a Lion, right? Like, you see the puck, you usually almost always just see the Lion counterpick for the Hex. But they go with the Grimstroke clock. You could still play with a Phantom's Embrace. Early on, the puck doesn't really have enough attack speed to rip through that one fast. But he can still kind of dodge out with his phase shift anyway, so we'll see if they can really lock it in. GXR built into that puck combo with Dream Coil. They've got the Kisses to fly out now. Very strong combination on hand for GXR to play with.
Absolutely. By the way, John, before we do continue, shout out to Lucas UGG for subbing to the stream. Thank you very much for that, sir. We appreciate the support. Back to the draft, though. I do agree with you. I thought maybe Lion was the obvious pickup here when you do see the puck, but like you mentioned, John, that was not quite the case. I think something like Clockwork can still be quite impactful up against the puck because you can hook shot and then get the cogs pushback, so it can also be pretty good, and maybe they just assume with the Grimstroke having the silence, if you do max out that Ink Remnant, it can be rather hard for the puck to try and burst it down. But I do agree that perhaps the finger, or excuse me, rather the Lion with the Hex out, might have been a lot more effective up against a hero like the puck. Nevertheless, that's not going to happen apparently, so it's classic 496 drafting, isn't it? Like, they don't really go with the meta. They don't really follow other teams. They do their own thing. And that's one thing I really always liked about 496 in particular, is we don't really see them trying to imitate other teams. They're going to do it their own way. If they're gonna win, it's gonna be their own damn way. They're gonna win it, and I can appreciate that, John. I've always respected that about 496.
Yeah, that they just play to their own strengths every single time, and they managed to make it work. Interesting ban there on the Earth Spirit as well, just preventing, I guess, the kick combo with a puck and preventing Paulson from playing it. He had a spectacular time on his Tusk. So we'll see what they opt for next. 496 probably looking for their core pickups. Likely not to see a core Clock or core Grim. And we've seen the Grimstroke on mid before. It's not really the most popular position for the hero. So we'll see what they will opt for. They have the full complement of Spirit Brothers against the puck if they want any of them. Could just pop in here, as you should just expect that puck for Alacrity. And they are going to dig into reserve, but they've got a lot of time to think about it. They go for the Doom. So that's one way to kind of hold the puck. They have double Doom with Grimstroke, so that kind of works out. That's the only way that you can really justify a Doom in my eyes. Laning for the Doom just feels super awkward because of his changes. So we'll have to see if 496 can make it work. And we have seen Doom kind of fall flat across a few regions, so it doesn't feel like it's in the best spot since kind of changing his playstyle. We'll see if 496 can get max value there. Of course, speaking of shout-outs a while ago, Mike, have to give a quick one to our friend Crest, Mr. Jong. Apparently, he qualified for the Lupon Cup, which is like a local Filipino tournament with some streamers and some big names every now and again. So he made it in. Shout out to him. He asked for it. He gets it.
How many shout-outs have we given that man? I feel like every series we cast, you're bringing him up. I feel like he's received enough shout-outs already, John. Surely.
Yep.
But he just never gets enough. He wants that attention, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he does. That he does. Who wouldn't, right? Like, he's an Immortal 200. He's looking for a team, so obviously he'd want the chance. Still, GXR going into the Inch. which is an interesting choice into Doom as a support. Like your enchanted creep is just going to be devoured away. So there's that weird back and forth there that the Doom can just abuse. At the same time, the Enchantress could just focus on getting the enchant slow instead, harassing out with the impetus. We see that be really effective. And you've got some decent supports here. Snap Enchantress are strong enough. We've seen this duo a couple of times. They do lack instantaneous control, but it's not like 496 has the slipperiest heroes yet, unless they opt for a Spirit Brother mid. So that is something 496 can kind of abuse now in their own draft.
It can't be a Spirit Brother, John. Earth Spirit's already been banned out. There's not really any value of picking up the other ones. I'm sure 496 and Galaxy Racer know that. 496, their fourth pickup now. They do need a safe lane. They need a mid lane. Last game around, it was a pretty interesting draft with that mid Mirana, and it almost worked in their favor. I wonder if they go a bit left field here with their mid lane again. Maybe run a bit something weird there for Hung Hung. But no, they're going to go for the TA pickup. Now, John, I'm not going to say this is a mid TA. Because again, in different regions, and I believe SEA, we have been seeing a bit of safe lane TA popping up. And it does seem quite impactful in that POS 1 role. So I'm not 100% sure where they're going to throw this TA yet. It definitely can be flexed just a little bit.
Yep, they've got the space for it in 496. Just trying to recall Drew TA. I don't recall it.
Right.
I don't think we've ever seen it, so I'm not sure. It feels like Drew. And no offensive guy, it feels like the hero pool is kind of limited. We see him play a lot of Bloodseeker. We see him play Troll. Some of those more traditional POS 1s. 496 still has those options if he wants to. They can still keep that pocket flexibility. I think the TA versus Puck lane is not too bad for TA. Like, Puck can't really melt through your refraction early on. Range is a bit of an issue for the TA, but once you get side blades up at level 2, or just having level 1 side blades with level 2 refraction, you're going to be fine. And they do go with the Terrorblade response here from GXR, so a pretty potent response. It's high armor, so that's one way to counteract the minus armor the TA brings out, right? Like, you have so much armor that -8 won't feel too bad. -10 for a while doesn't feel as bad for a TB, especially once he has more HP up. So it's pretty potent in that sense. You don't have the best illusion clear from the side of 496. The TB illusion spam is still going to be potent, and it gives him a really nice lane. You're probably going to be up against a Doom. Every time you have Metamorphosis up, you should be able to trade hits with that Doom very nicely.
Yeah, I'd say you should. See if it does pan out. I mean, with the TB, it does take a bit more time than your standard POS 1 to be online. It's almost like a Medusa in some sense, right? You're just farming the jungle for such a long time before you really get involved. And of course, it's going to be a lot about just revolving around that meta timing. And now I'm kind of thinking for GXR, who do you want to throw on the off lane? Because it does appear to be the lane that's currently missing. Now hear me out, John. I know you and I hate seeing this combination, because we saw it so many times. But Death Prophet is available. They are fighting into TA. I think it could be a decent DP mid or off lane here. Because you could still flex the Puck as well. I don't think that'd be too bad of an option. Just put the Puck in the off lane, get a DP mid instead. And just kind of beat the TA out in the mid lane.
Yeah, that could work really well for GXR if they want to. They don't have last pick overall, but they opt for the Lycan. This is spicy. There you go. That's even spicier, Mike.
Screw the DP.
That's
Don't worry
nice.
about the DP. I didn't even say that. I want to see the Lycan. I love seeing this hero pop up. But John, where are they laning everyone? Where's this Lycan going? Is this an off lane Lycan we're looking at?
Could be off. I don't think it wants to go mid against TA. That sounds like a pretty terrible time. You do have a better time with your initial Wolf level, but down the line, the TA can just kind of clear them out. So probably still want the Puck versus TA. Like an off, counteract whatever comes in safe. You have some good push timings.
Ooh.
Lifestealer coming through for 496 is a very Drew hero, so it does look like
But-
Drew's going to be
No,
on the safe lane. Mhm.
Into TB and Lycan?
Yeah, it's a strange one. All your added damage on Lifestealer is physical. So high armor and Terrorblade's not gonna be bothered by it. Lycan, for a high HP hero, he's also pretty tanky with armor. So I don't know if you have the max value there. You've got the combination with Infest on TA, Infest on Doom, Infest on Clock, double Doom on hand. That could be one way to get that done, but definitely looking stronger on GXR's draft. Before we dig into that a bit more, because we gave Crest a shout out, we had Ponlo pop in chat asking for one as well. So shout out to you, Ponlo. Stay safe there during Circuit Breaker 2.0.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone's asking for one. I have to
Everyone
give it
wants
to
a
Ponlo.
shout out. All right. And shout out to the lovely viewers too. I mean, the viewers, there's been a lot of
course.
people that have been just showing up over and over again, you know, telling us how much they love the casting, all the support we receive. It keeps us going, John. You know, we do cast a lot. We get a little bit tired as the games do go on, but seeing all the kind words that do come in from the lovely people watching always keep us going. And of course, shout out to Ponlo, by the way. I mean, Ponlo, I think he's an up-and-coming star in the SEA region. I've been watching you, Ponlo. I've been watching you very carefully, sir. And I feel like he's almost there. Sorry, excuse me. There's a alarm going off on my phone right now. But back to my point. I think Ponlo is getting pretty close to showing up on the big stage, and hopefully during maybe Season 3, the DPC will get to see him. So shout out to you, sir. And by the way, I realize I completely forgot to do the channel point predictions in the first game, so I'm trying to do them right now. As you can see, John doesn't help me out at all. I'm being completely overworked, ladies and gentlemen.
I can't do it. I'm blocked from betting. I literally can't start it because I can't bet myself.
Yeah, that would be a likely excuse,
For some
John.
reason.
That's a likely excuse.
And the music's just going on as they spam it. The music never ends as well.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even hear Seb. I just hear that background music every single time. But yeah, we'll see what 496 can do here. They need that win to force a game 3. So they've got to bring their A game. We didn't really point it out, but Hung's TA is one of his special.
Yeah.
We've seen 496 go back to this multiple times. Look at those double wards. They managed to get the D ward. Very nice for 496, getting additional gold and better rune control. So you could maybe look for some cheeky rotations early on. Alacrity's going to have to play with a bit of a disadvantage in terms of getting the control. He still has better mobility, though, so I don't think it'll bother Alacrity too much. Down to 496 to use that for some aggression later on.
Absolutely. John, while we do have a pause, I haven't talked to you about this yet, but I'm in a bit of a pickle. And considering we're casting 496, I think this is the right time to bring it up. But my wife wants me to make her a dinner. A romantic dinner, in fact, is how she worded it.
Okay.
I asked her what cuisine she wanted. Right? I was like, all right, what cuisine do you want? I'm a man of culture. I'll go out and learn some recipes, you know, from different cultures. She wants Vietnamese food, John. And she specifically said she wants pho. And I said, okay, I'll make you some pho, but I have no idea how to make it. I know the broth takes a long time and you need some beef bones or something. I have no idea. So if there's any Vietnamese people that are also good cooks, if you want to just put it in the chat, maybe a recipe or something, or a link to a recipe, I deeply appreciate it because I have no idea what I'm doing. And if I don't make good food, my wife's going to kill me. So she is a chef after all. GXR, they're going to try and fight over the bounty runes, and looks like they are going to be able to take the bottom ones. It is going to be a 2-for-2 trade. That's a true story, by the way, John. I'll put a photo up on Twitter once I do make the dish, but I am very scared. Yassi. That's a very nice block from Yassi. You never see that, ladies and gentlemen, but if you're playing Clockwork and your mid laner misses the block, you could just do that, use the cogs, and in most lanes, you find that level 1 battery assault isn't really that useful anyway. Generally, you want to get to that level 3 mark on the Clockwork so you can really abuse the level 2 battery assault. But I do like the fact that Yassi went for the level 1 cogs and helps out the mid lane to ensure that Hung is going to have the best game possible. And as you can see, even in the laning stage, the cogs can be very impactful in just denying CS away from the enemy POS 1.
Yeah, the In Your Dreams having a bit of a slower start than that Terrorblade. Just good aggressive positioning coming through from Yassi. Even snipes a courier out with additional tango, so getting full value on his clock so far. And this is what you want to see. You just need to hold out, get some levels, try to zone out some of these heroes, buy some space for that BB to maximize that Devour, get his level 2 up, and then you can start thinking about it. In Your Dream is, interestingly enough, holding on to his level 1 Metamorphosis. He's not even skilling the point up. So he's just playing it safe, not opting to use it, and he's still finding some CS despite not popping it. So I think in a melee versus melee matchup with a melee support to boot, you're kind of fine with just greeting out like this on TV.
Oh, that BB has been caught out. A very nice cookie there from 343, and look at the body block.
Thanks and have fun.
That's great game sense from 343 to understand the limitations of the hero, but just jumping over that BB and body blocking him there for In Your Dream. A really nice play. Quite a high level play, in fact, from 343. But we should have a look at the other lanes as well. John, mid lane, Alacrity going to be up against Hung Hung. You talked about the TA being one of Hung's specials, and I would tend to agree with you on that. Right now, it is a very kind of even lane as Alacrity and Hung are sitting at 10 CS. But it does seem like Alacrity is getting the better end of the water runes. And he's going to be able to actually get both of them, which is definitely bad news for Hung.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see for the TA. You're also seeing the issue of range. Right, like he's got level 2 refraction up, which is nice, but every single time Alacrity, he stands back, just plays with the illusory orb, outright click harasses from a mile off onto Hung, and Hung, until he gets more bonus range out, it's just tricky for him to hold this.
Yeah, look at this, Hung. One hit away from dying. He will have the bottle up now, so he's going to be able to regen a bit, but while that was all happening, bot lane, Drew, able to secure the kill on the Lifestealer. Paulson ends up going down. That's definitely pretty darn nice for the Lifestealer. And we kind of mentioned the fact that that there might be a bit of a struggle later on, because you are paying Lifestealer into Puck, TB, and Lycan, so it feels like he's going to be kited around a lot. But if he can secure some farm real quick and real nicely, maybe he can make this pick work.
Yeah, like he gets a nice kill, they bully out the Ench. This is a bit of a slower lane for GXR, just because, well, like an Ench, I mean, you could play aggressive, you look for enchant slows and run down. Once your wolves are a bit higher, maybe you get more feral impulse or a value in Howl. You can kind of do that a bit better, but there's just a lot of defensibility on the Lifestealer. He's tanky, he can just feast back up, and you've got this Grimstroke to help zone out as well with the Inkswell, and kind of punish your summons with the Stroke of Fate. So maybe just want to take a step back, focus on Mizu getting some farm. And Drew is going to enjoy that first blood injection, but he's not really getting the freest lane. Compare that to our Terrorblades scaling in terms of CS right now. Definitely a bit slower here for Drew. Gonna need a little bit more out of that lane before he starts to feel comfy. As it is still even right now, 1-1 at 4 minutes in. You're seeing just a lot more control coming out in GXR. I think the big difference is still mid. They do manage to at least give Hung a water rune this time around, which is good. He needs that top up in the bottle.
Inkswell gonna land, Drew. Have some nice slows there. Mizu, he's gonna be forced to TP away, and well, that's the one bright side of this lane for GXR is once they've used the Inkswell, they have no other way to lock you down. Problem is, Mizu did have to TP all the way to the fountain, so it's going to be a long walk back. But top lane, they get 3-4-3. Yassi going to trade his life away for that. And In Your Dream is going to get some pressure on to the Doom. Does look like that BB is going to be able to walk away and actually get back to farming the large camp there with the creep wave. But it's going to be a bit of an even trade, and I guess for In Your Dream on the Terrorblade, being able to pick that kill up is still going to feel quite nice for him.
Yeah, it doesn't mind too much. He got like 3 denies, 4 denies in that wave as well, while it was being pulled away by the Doom. So I think you kind of went out that trade here for GXR, just having that additional EXP on hand. For the side of 496, I think the big spikes they have to watch out for is...
Uh-oh. Paulson, he's going to drop. They already got Bombi, though. And it's another support trade happening down at the bot side. Mind you, Drew was the one at least picking up the Paulson kill, where Paulson actually got 3, rather Bombi. So Mizu really got nothing out of that apart from a bit of XP, and well, you see Drew just really giving it to the Lycan. And I guess this is why you wanted the Lifestealer in the first place, is the laning stage is going to be very strong for Drew. As Paulson's going to try and come in and help out, and with the enchant it is going to be enough. And while that's happening, top lane, In Your Dream ends up dropping now as Yassi. Able to catch him out along with Bobby and DapBB, and now they go into 3-4-3. They may be able to find a secondary kill, and it looks like they will. DapBB will take it with the arc lightning he got off the neutral creep. And that's definitely a pretty good set of kills happening here for 496.
Yeah, it's a big set of kills coming out. They finally get some activity off. It's at that point where you can kind of leave well, maybe not leave the lifesteal alone like that. They do eventually find Drew. So it's evening out. You're trading your cores away. I think this is still okay for GXR because Terrorblade flash farms a lot faster than Lifestealer. So if all things hold even, your Terrorblade still has better time as long as he's not lagging behind. The side of 4960 is starting to clump around. You can see Yassi lining up for mid. He doesn't have hookshot yet. So it looks like they might not really be able to force the issue. They are giving a lot of space for Hung. Like, there's no jungle contestation here from GXR, so the TA is clearing out camps, is starting to catch up. And this flash farm on Hung's going to be really important. He needs that quick
Bot lane. Mizu being caught out again. Inkswell going to lock him down. Bombi, do you have the damage? And Drew's going to be able to keep up, and Mizu is going to drop. But look at this, John Pollison. While that was happening, did just focus down the tier 1 tower. And that's going to be a very early bottom tier 1 dropping here for the side of GXR. So you can kind of make the argument that maybe it's worth the death of Mizu there on the Lycan, just to be able to get such an early tier 1. And it's going to allow Pollison to start roaming around in the Enchantress now and maybe start setting up for that mid-tier 1 tower that we do tend to see occasionally. And of course, if you take the mid-tier 1 tower out for GXR, then that will mean that it's going to be a lot more limited as to where Hung can farm. And I think that may be the game plan here, is just shut Hung down, because you know you could probably deal with Drew later on in the Lifestealer.
Yeah, that's really the key thing. Prevent the TA from hitting those item spikes. Hung, I mean, he's still not quite there, but you know, it's the start to that Desolator. It's the start to seeing whether or not he wants to blink or the Ags. But both of them still being really nice. I mean, the Ags takes more time, but the stats are great, and just having that ridiculously low channel time to go around the map is kind of busted. Like, it's actually so dumb when you see that in action. And I remember people saying it was a bit of a joke, but when you and I saw it, I think from, was it God King or DD in China doing it? It should have been DD doing it. He was just all over the place, jumping around, and I believe it was Ame as well, right? Who initially went for those Ags builds-ups in TA. Now it's all over the place. People are finally seeing that it's so good, so we'll see if Hung opts for it. I think it's kind of sweetened up by the Ag shard, because you get the silence. It's just so dumb that you get an active silence on top of slow. And that if you're caught out with no defensive item, you're probably just dead. But GXR are looking up top.
That they are. That BB gonna get spotted. A nice stream core from Alacrity, locking 2 down. They try to block them off with the cogs, but it's not gonna matter as Mizu is into the backside onto that BB. Your Doom still trying to run, but the Wolves might just be able to take care of it as they go even deeper. Yassi might try to turn here into Mizu, but no, it looks like he's not gonna be able to catch him out. Just too much time on the Wolf form, so they lose the Doom. They won't get any form of a trade going on here for 496. But on the brighter side, Drew is pushing out the bottom tier 1, and Hung was farming that whole time on the TA. So you are buying space for your other 2 cores.
Yep, they're getting that needed gold injection out. It's really down to Alacrity to be aggressive. He wants to look for those Dream Coil opportunities, so he's happy enough to find one. You kind of want to deal with a TA, and they are kind of running in, but Paulson can't do much, although Doom.
Yeah, Doom's going to be committed. They just want the easy kill there. Meanwhile, a bigger kill would be Paulson and Alacrity. They'll get Paulson first. Looks like Alacrity will be fine, but 343 does end up dropping on the Snapfire. So 496 able to find 2 supports across the map, and that's going to feel quite nice for them now as they can start rotating into the die jungling. Well, Hung, he's got a nice triple stack of Ancients waiting for him now, thanks to the Bombi. It's definitely not the greatest of news for GXR having this farm stolen away from them. In your dream? He didn't realize. The Inkswell not going to land, but Yassi, he has the battery assault. They're going to lock him down. Oh no. They did not realize that the triangle was taken. They had no wards out in it either, so they had no vision. Your Dream, he's the highest net worth here on the map. They're going to try and trade though. They'll go after Hung. There's your cogs out to block the way, but Alacrity is already in. But he doesn't have much damage or follow-up. He might need to run. Mizu's trying to come in from the sideline. 3-4-3, however, going to drop quite fast on the snapfire. And now Yassi is going to try and run on the clock. He has the cogs available. He'll push away Mizu. Meanwhile, Bombi does drop as Mizu's going to continue the chase and eventually should find the clock. But Yassi going to try and just play ring around the rosy. It won't matter though. Still a 2-for-1 trade in the end, and I guess it does kind of favor GXR. The bright side as well for In Your Dream, John, is they did not lose the stacks. They weren't able to be finished by Hung.
Yeah, that's really good news. In fact, it's softened up by Hung. So it's easier for the Terrorblade to clear it out. You're going to be very happy about that. And go back to farming. You need more items on the TV before you start joining in. So the pressure's on Mizu, and it's on Alacrity to be the ones active. They have been pretty proactive. Every single time the shapeshift is up,
Nice hook shot.
movement, although...
Very nice hook shot there from Yassi. Great rocket flare to scout out. And I used to say this a lot back when we were casting BTS Pro Series, John, but Yassi, in my opinion, definitely one of the better clockworks in the SEA scene.
He just lines up for his team, finds the simple pickoffs. 496, because of that, are leading in kill count 11-7, less than 1k, well, around 1k of a lead right now. Farm distribution for them is better, and they're running up to IYD.
Yeah, In Your Dream, getting caught out again. Cogs, not enough mana for it. Yassi can't hold him down, but with the Doom out, they can just keep chasing him. But no, a deny out, 3-4-3. He uses the little shredder to be able to get the deny off in time. And he does lose his own life in the process, but you'd have to call that a bit of a win now for GXR, considering the Doom's down. I guess you still have the TB down without farming for about 20 seconds, but it's not going to feel that great for 496 to lose the kill like that.
Yeah, I mean, they commit Doom. That's a really long cooldown spell. They don't get the result they'd want. So GXR, they're just playing the stall game. They're trying to make sure that 496 doesn't get too much from these trades. They're still trying to build up on pretty much 3 big farming cores. Like Puck, not as much, but you're still needing to hit these item spikes on Alacrity. You definitely need to farm a little bit on Mizu. Still trying to save up for his drums. It is up, but I think you'd want to see this Lycan go maybe Echo Saber, old school kind of build. AC definitely down the line to protect against a TA and go from there. Hung is still allowed to farm up though. Desolator's almost up, 600 gold away. We've seen how squishy they are when the TA shows up for these fights. Once the Deso is done, not going to take as long to melt them down. So you need to watch these massive spikes coming through from 496. They just have a faster draft as they did have in game 1. But this time around, the big difference is they're playing to its strengths and they do smoke up.
But they do, down to the bot side. In Your Dream again, maybe caught with his pants down. He's going to run right into them. Yassi, though, hookshot going to be on the illusion, but it won't matter. They've got the right target. In Your Dream, he could not sunder as the silence was there, but they got some nice coils into the Snapfire Kisses. They will find 3 for their trouble. Yassi, he's going to be able to TP out in time, just barely. Again, you don't want to lose your Terrorblade, but if you find 3 for that, it doesn't seem so bad.
No, definitely not. Like, you kill off Hung, that's probably a bigger kill at this time. In Your Dream will still just go back and farm up, still hit his spikes. The big thing for 496 is that Drew wasn't there, so he's just solo pushing top. He's trying to clear out the tier 2 solo, get some farm going up. Sanj is pretty much under. TPing in though.
That they are, Yassi, gonna be there. There's your Grimstroke with a Stroke of Fate. They're gonna keep just trying to go in onto Mizu. They'll get Yassi in the end with the Wolves, but obviously you don't want to lose Mizu like that. He's going to drop nonetheless. Now 496 into the mid lane, want to go after that tier 1 tower, and it looks like it's not going to be too hard of an ask for them. In fact, Bombi getting a bit caught out there, trying to get some wards off. It's going to go down. They are still going to be able to secure that mid tier 1, however, and or at least they got what they came for here, 496.
Yeah, it's a nice tower to take, opens up the map a bit more, allows them to invade that jungle with much more confidence, and it also opens up a bit more for Roche opportunity, which I think 496 should start eyeing with the Desolator up on Hung. They can certainly rip through it with a Lifestealer around as well. So they should set their eyes on Roche. You can see Mizu just scouting out in advance to prevent it. But that's going to be on GXR's mind all the time now. They know Roche is a big possibility, and looks like 496 will get started.
Why the hell not? They just picked the Deso up on Hung. Definitely going to speed things up a little bit here, but the problem is the Wolves are scouting it out as we speak. So GXR are very well aware of this happening. Mid lane, there's going to be a hook shot out onto the puck. They've got him silenced up as well. Lacrity is going to drop very early on. Kisses are out into the Roshan pit. That BB, he might die if one more connects, but no, they can't get the last one. Now Drew's running in onto the snapfire, but look at the damage output. In Your Dream, just getting the work done. But the Infest is going to save the days. Now Lacrity does move in, but he needs to find a coil target. He'll get the supports off towards the south. They'll go back in onto Bombi. That'll be your Grimstroke gone. Yes, he's going to try and run as Bombi. He's going to buy back. Yassi, though, dropping so down low, does drop, but Hung now moving back in. Drew, he gets rid of 3-4-3. Drew's going to try and run. It's so much damage. Hung is going to get a lot of damage taken his way, but the Doom came out. They've got the puck controlled, but can they get the big one? Can they get the TB? Well, maybe. If he can't sunder, maybe they can, and they will be able to get him. In fact, they'll keep going now. That BB going to keep going onto the Snapfire. 3-4-3 is going to try and cookie away, but Drew is on the chase. Eventually, they will be able to get him. In fact, Paulison came back in, but Yassi, he held the hook shot. He waited for the right time and is going to be able to get Paulison. That's a triple kill out for Drew, and In Your Dream, he's copping a lot here, John, on this TB. Like, he has so much damage, but they keep the battery assault and the silence on him, and he can just never commit the sunder.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky right now for In Your Dream. He has no defensive items. Every single time he gets caught out like that, it's just kind of done. They tried to get some good spacing, and they were initially. The buybacks just work out there for 496, and Orochi is going to be cleaned up. So you get the first Aegis on their side. They could easily pass it on to Hung or Drew. Probably just going to be on Hung, just to protect that TA, although maybe the Wolves can deny. Not too late.
They tried. Definitely not in time, though. It's like Hung was ready for it just in case. The game definitely looking to go the way of 496 right now, and obviously with this draft, we didn't really have much faith in the Lifestealer. But the way that this support duo from 496 has just continued to haunt In Your Dream has made it that he is falling quite significantly behind in terms of net worth. And that's the thing. If
Speaking of,
oh, he's gonna try and infest and run. T-Trip's dropping quite low, but he has help now. That BB's gonna move in. They'll try to turn around. Hook shot there from Yassi. They'll lock down Mizu. Oh, so close yet so far. The tips come out from Mizu. They're having a laugh. Now Hung's going to move in. 3-4-3 being caught out. Cookie's a creep. I think... I'm not sure what he was trying to cookie there, but that definitely was not the target.
no. Just pickoffs coming through for 496. Really starting to line it up. Very aggressive chase. Like there's still that tier 1, so there was still a TP point for 496 to defend. And now they've got a massive 7k lead. GXR aren't falling too far behind on their Terrorblade. Everyone else is lagging behind. Alacrity stuck on the Witchblade. Mizu just stuck in the drums, not able to go even into the Vlads. And the slower this game goes, you still feel nice, but your map is shrinking. 496 is playing with that spike quite nicely.
Yeah, Bombi, he ends up going down to In Your Dream at that bot side. In Your Dream, he won't be able to commit towards that tier 2 bottom tower, though. Was understanding that everyone's just kind of gone missing now. He needs to be very cautious. Meanwhile, Drew just continues to farm up very nicely, and that BB is going to be scouted out. Cookie is going to be on target, and they will lock him down with the coil and the kisses. They just want him gone. They will get him. In the mid lane, though, Hung does manage to kill off Paulison. So you do get a little bit of a trade there for 496, but it certainly was a much more valuable trade for GXR.
And this is getting worrisome. Hung is just about to finish his ag. So he's going to have that mobility on hand. If he manages to get the ag shard next, he's going to have a silence on top. You still have no defensive items for In Your Dream. Heck, none of these heroes have anything defensive at all. So once GXR gets caught up, if any of these cores are silenced, they're pretty much lined up for death. They have got to be really careful about their spacing, and they need so much more farm. Like, GXR just needs to keep stalling. This is the big power spike for 496. You just have to maybe just look to defend high ground now and just play around your jungle.
Could be a big fight at the bot side. Bombi about to be spotted by that TB illusion. Does go for the Ink Swan, just the run away. Hung is going to make his way over immediately, and there's that mobility you talked about. He does have the axis, a hook shot down a bot side. They found Mizu, but the cookie away. It's going to be there, and Yassi didn't really have much help anyway. He was going in by himself. The GXR not really realizing it. Do just back off, not trying for the clockwork kill. While the rest of 496, they're just pushing in the mid-tier 2 tower.
They still kind of go for the objectives. They've got Aegis up for a bit longer, about a minute and a half, so they've got a lot of room to just be aggressive. The side of GXR just trying to avoid. They're playing the bot lane still. They're playing up top. They're trying to farm, trying to hope for the best. They're willing to surrender these outer towers. They only have to kind of play for high ground, so they will have to come in to defend that mid set of racks.
That they will. They're going to have to try now. You've got the kisses up. You just need a really nice Dream Coil here if you're GXR, and you might be able to follow up with that. Meta is also off cooldown in 2 seconds, but the Raxes are now under siege. They need to get something done. Drew still standing, but Dream Coil is there into the cookie now. They get the Soulbind off. Where's the Doom? It's not there yet, but now it does come out. They've got 2 targets, and they are straight in onto the puck. They want him gone, but he is going to make a run onto In Your Dream, trying to go onto Hung. But with the refraction, he's getting no damage out. He's still trying, but a 4-staff in from Yassi. Yassi gets the aggressive 4-staff off into the cogs. And that's what you love to see from Clockwork players, John. Just abusing the 4-staff and the cogs, trapping him in. Paulison also going to drop. And 496, they should be able to clean up the mid-racks. In fact, they should be able to find a second. As topside, who have they got there? It's going to be Alacrity on the puck. He will orb away, but the trap is there, and Hung, well, he won't be able to move over as it was killed off, but they can just go after the top tier 3 tower instead. And that's exactly what they're going to do.
They lose the Aegis. It does expire now on Hung. He doesn't have a second life, but it just feels like GXR don't have control. Their team fight is just limited to Dream Coil, and it's just so difficult when their only combo is Dream Coil Kisses compared to Game 1. They have very little to play with.
Uh-oh. Mizu, he trying to sneak up from the backside, but Hung might have his way with him. It's not quite enough yet. Meanwhile, on the high ground, 3-4-3 is being chased up by Drew. Alacrity trying to hold Hung down, but Mizu, he came back in and got Meld Striked immediately. Alacrity, he just doesn't have the damage either. Oh!
What?
He didn't all the way!
Lose together, win together, slay
Whoa.
together, slay
Did he get silenced? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I mean, there's the trap up, so he got silenced as he popped out. You have the Ag Shard up on the TA, so there is that silence for 3.5 seconds at minimum. And with those kills, 496, they're just going to go for the tier 4s, go for the dummy buildings first to clear out a way for the creep wave. But even with the respawns coming up soon, GXR just doesn't have the team fight. They need Kisses up. It will be back up. Dream Coil's half a minute off. So there's still a lot of opportunities here for 496 to play forward. But Hong has kind of left. He does have traps to go back into, though. So it doesn't matter too much.
slay together, slay together.
496 really enjoying that, would that be Beast enjoying the said voice lines as Bombi comes in with the, well, I don't know how to say it myself, John. I don't speak Japanese, unfortunately, but you know the line is Yassi, another 4-star play onto Paulison, but this time it may not be enough. The Enchantress proving a little bit challenging to kill off, but now the Soulbind's out. Do you have a Doom? It is available, but they never got it off in time. Onto Hung, they'll go. Hung, Meld Strike, Yassi back in with the hook shot now. Silence is there from our puck. They've got Hung. But Mizu does drop in the process, and now the Lifestealer Infest is there with the Doom out. They'll kill off In Your Dream. 3-4-3 is going to try and run out of here. He'll cookie up to the high ground.
Slay together.
Still have Alacrity playing around here with Bombi. It's like he's going to be alright to make himself out. No, he's still here. I thought he orbed away. He went into the neutral creep now, and Hung is going to get him with the trap. And that's the second time he has chosen not to orb away.
Slay together,
I believe that time it was not a silence that was out, but I can't be 100% sure. But I'll tell you what, these silences have been pretty on point from our TA.
Yep, it's just ridiculous how much the traps do. They're TP points, there's silence points, they've got damage flying out. And 496, they lost the TA. Not the biggest kill because you still find a Terrorblade, you still find a Puck. They're still going to find these last set of towers as well, making their way towards that bot set of racks. And GXR, they need perfect team fights. It's just not coming out clean. The Dream Coils look good, but they're kind of forced to have 343 sit up close for the cookie. It feels like you can't just sit back and get the kisses off from a safe distance, which is really limiting the options for GXR in these team fights. Like every time the double doom comes up as well, you're just kind of done. And your Dream, once he's doomed up, can't really run. It's just limited, and now the racks are under siege here.
And they are, Drew. Gonna be attacked, but he's just so tanky now on that lifestealer. He just doesn't have to worry about the Terrorblade, because every time In Your Dream shows himself, he's either getting jumped by Yassi or that BB with the Doom. And the lifestealer just never has to worry about the opposing position one as well, they get a nice cookie off, but it's not going to make the difference. Drew will just keep going. Yassi's having a look with the rocket. He's trying to fly over. He's going to find Mizu, puts him in the cogs, just traps him up for now, but won't throw out the hook shot. He's waiting as that BB. He has Doom up in 10 seconds. In Your Dream, he's going to be spotted. Yassi again with the jetpack is going to move in, and there's your Soulbind out. Another cogs out now. Paulison, they'll try it to hung though. The TA losing the refraction charges, but they've lost Mizu. Doom is down, however, so maybe In Your Dream can fight back, but he has to be worried because the hook shot is still there. Onto the backside, they find Paulison, but the buybacks are going to come out immediately. They'll try to fight one last time. In Your Dream does get the Sunder off onto Drew, but the Infest is out onto that BB. He will survive another day. Onto In Your Dream, they will get the Terrorblade. They have the buybacks, but they are going to call it. They have had enough, and Drew, he isn't an ultra kill, but he's not going to have the time for a rampage. The GG call was just a bit too early for him. It won't matter though. This is going to force us to a game number 3 between 496 and GXR. And God, I love these two teams, John. It's always just such a pleasure to watch this kind of SEA Dota.
Oh yeah, they're all over the place. They keep running up. The big difference for 496 is they actually play around with their early game timing. And Galaxy Racer went with a really greedy way of closing out, right? Like they went for Lycan on the off lane, which meant they had a farming safe lane, a farming off lane. They could only really play with their mid lane combo with their support, so it was just Dreamcoil kisses. There wasn't enough coming through, and we saw Mizu try to be aggressive in Lycan. He tried to play an early timing. He only had drums for a long time. That's just not enough to rip through Doom. It's not enough to rip through a Lifestealer. It's not enough to melt the TA's refraction charges, and they just kind of allowed Hung to have this perfect game almost, right? Where he just had free farm and triangle, no contestation, no wards, no gank attempts. He got his Desolator, he rushed the Ags, and from there he was just all over the place, jumping in, finding pickoffs. He got the silence off with his Ag Shard. Just too much. I think GXR have to reel it back a bit. Maybe they got a bit confident from game 1, seeing that they took it slow with Reduce strat, worked out, but they still had activity early. They still had Tidehunter, which could play. They had an Invoker with Ags that they could play with without the Dusa.
Right.
And this time around, they were just stuck with 2 farming cores.
I take it back to the fact that 496, in my opinion, still has one of the best support duos in SEA. For sure, Bombi and Yassi together, they always make it work. Sometimes you look at the draft and you wonder how they're going to make this draft happen, but you give Yassi the clockwork, you gave Bombi the Grimstroke, and they just create magic. Especially Yassi on that clockwork. How many 4-star cogs plays did he make? Oh, yeah. How many times did he get In Your Dream on the Terrorblade? It's just a clockwork masterclass from a player who plays a lot of clockwork, John. I can tell you that was a very high-level performance. With that, though, we are going to head off to a short 10-minute break, and right after that 10-minute break, we'll be back with game number 3 between GXR and 496. We'll see you then. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are here for the third game of this best of 3 series between 496 and Galaxy Racer Esports. And it is, of course, MLP Dota and John X Fire once again. John, welcome back, sir. I can't remember if I've asked you already. I probably have twice, but how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, Mike. That second game was a spectacular bounce in from 496. They had the TA for Hung. They had Drew on his Comfort Lifestealer. They make it work in a very big way. You can see GXR actually respect ban the Clockwork and Grim, but this is scary. They give out the Bombi Phoenix, and we know this is a special of his, so it's out. It's his favorite hero. He's played a lot of games on it. We'll see if GXR are ready for it. They don't have access to Snapfire to counteract it straight up. They're going to have to find another solution to that Phoenix, and we're going to have to see if they can shake their playstyle up a bit. They went with a slower draft game too. They had an off-lane Lycan that tried to play fast, but we saw them try to commit on Drew. He just infests, runs out, baits them in. So they need something else to kind of set up for those team fights, kind of set up for those gank attempts as well from the off-lane. Just something with more activity there for Mizu.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw game 1. His Tidehunter was very effective. I'd kind of like to see a repeat of that if we could. Of course, they did last pick it last time, if I am correct in saying. They've been giving Mizu that kind of last pick priority, so it won't be too surprising if they do the same thing. But now GXR, they're going to have a heavy think about this. And it kind of goes back to what you said. Even though both these teams are going to be back for the lower division throughout Season 3 of the SEA DPC, it definitely isn't such a bad thing to just get your placing even higher. Obviously, like you pointed out earlier on, the money, the prize pool does go up a bit if you can kind of get up in the standings. And as well as that, in terms of sponsorships, if you are trying to get some sponsors for your team, obviously the higher placing you have, definitely the better it looks for those sponsors that are watching. And perhaps looking at some of these teams to throw some money at. So these placings do matter quite a lot in that sense. Apart from that, that slight increase in the prize pool, but every little bit counts, especially when you are in the lower division, and money can make all the difference. As 496, they're being a little bit cheeky now, John. They go for the Phoenix and the Hoodwink. Of course, we have seen Hoodwink been popping up recently in different regions. I haven't had the pleasure of watching the 496 Hoodwink yet. I'm very curious to see what kind of role they want to put it in, because this is one of those teams that do tend to take heroes that you don't expect in that mid lane and in that off lane and even in the safe lane. And they do kind of slot them in somehow. So I'm very, very curious to see what 496's plan is with this hero.
Yeah, I think it's potent already, though. Like, you've got the combos with the Phoenix. If you get your Bushwhack off while the Phoenix Egg's going through, you're probably not going to be able to break it at all. In fact, you can force them to clump around the egg, drop a tree with the Acorn Shot, and just get them stuck. So the synergy is there for 496. It's kind of strong coming through. GXR, they start with their supports, I'm assuming. They go with the Earth Spirit and AA. You could maybe run Earth Spirit mid or off, but we don't tend to see it too often. But this pick should still make you happy. Seeing the Earth Spirit back in. We know Paulson plays a mean Earth Spirit, so it's a comfort pick coming through here. The AA, I'm not seeing the real necessity. Maybe just to stop the healing coming through from the Phoenix. And they also managed to snag away this Alacrity Storm. So they've got that solid mid laner. They know the supports in this case don't really do much against Storm. You don't have the instantaneous stuns. You don't have a Hex on hand. So the Storm should be allowed to zip in and out. It's going to be down to your core pickups here in 496 to have some form of control there. They could look for a favorable mid matchup. We've seen Ember come out there. They go with the Tiny. So that looks like that might just be our Hung Tiny on mid. Not too bad. We have seen Tiny kind of be aggressive, especially while Storm is not yet at the level 5-6 mark. You can still play around with your Avalanche Toss. Play with the Tree Grab. Gives you some safety distance as well. So you can still kind of find farm that lane here for the Tiny.
No, you certainly can. That's what we do tend to see a lot of Tiny into one of these Spirit Brothers, especially the Storm. Maybe not so much something like the Ember, because you do have the Flame Guard, but against the Storm, people do seem to enjoy picking up that Tiny mid. Obviously, there is still the option of a Tiny safe lane as well. Something we do tend to see here and there. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if a team like 496 wanted to try and run the safe lane Tiny. But only time will tell us. We need to wait out these fourth bans now. GXR, 45 seconds reserve time left. We have seen both games so far. They've left the off-lane pick till last for Mizu. And I imagine they'll probably do the same thing this time around. So anything in particular you'd like to see for Drew? Or excuse me, not for Drew, but rather for In Your Dream in the safe lane?
Something with natural spell immunity would be good. A jog is safe. They go with the DP first, so that does look like our Mizu here on the off lane. Gives them push here on Galaxy Racer's side. Doesn't really deal with Phoenix Egg, so none of their heroes are really an answer to the egg yet. They might just look again, maybe a jug last pick to fix that up. 496, seeing the DP, it's still really nice in the off lane. You can still kind of build up, right? Like, it's still hard to harass out, but it definitely doesn't feel as dominating in that lane anymore. You can still kind of bully it out if it's not careful with the positioning. So there is some potential there from 496. Probably just going to look for the Drew hero again. If they want the Lifestealer, it could work. I mean, spell immunity on hand for 496 is good. You do have a vehicle, and I suppose the Phoenix with a dive, or the Tiny if you want to just play with that blink combination. Otherwise, they might be eyeing the Bloodseeker again, just because that's something Drew plays a ton of. Can kind of be nice against Storm. The Rupture doesn't do much, but if you can somehow land the Silence out, the Bloodright with the Avalanche Toss, then the Storm Spirit's kind of stuck. And we don't tend to see Storms go for defensive items at all. So you're always going to be able to get that off somehow, and that could be an issue there for Galaxy Racer if they're not ready for that.
Okay. Interesting to note, John. People in the chat really pointing out the Hoodwink 0% win rate in the pro meta, which is definitely not a very good sign, I suppose. But let's see if 496 can try and turn that one around. It is a strong hero. I'll tell you that. Like, it's very disruptive. It pushes lanes out very nicely. Even the ulti's quite nice, having that inbuilt break, and obviously you have the setup. However, they go for an anti-mage pickup. Now, this obviously counters out the Storm. I suppose against the DP, he doesn't really mind the lane matchup too much. So you do have that magic immunity kind of built in. Hell, even the counterspell can be quite effective up against the DP. Do you like this pick, though, John? Do you think it was a good anti-mage game?
It's a decent anti-mage game. The control from Galaxy Racer isn't instantaneous. So the AM still has a lot of opportunities to just get away, especially once he has his Manta up. So I don't think it's going to be too worrisome for 496. They've got a lot of aggression coming out from their Tiny and their two supports. They just need something on the off lane for Dat BB to play around there, play aggressive by the AM space. So you don't want something passive in the off to last pick. Back to the Hoodwink. I did just check quickly, at least from what I can see, it hasn't been picked up in lower or upper div in Southeast Asia.
Right.
I think we've seen it from our end. We've seen it in OEDL from the Southeast Asian teams in the Fall Invitational and some of the Australian teams.
And we saw it in NA
in that
as well.
case. Yeah, we saw it once or twice in NA. So in those cases, I think it's been okay. I think in the OEDL, it's been performing a bit better. So if 496 were watching those games or running it in scrims, this should still work out nicely. Love that they ban out the Jug. That's really the only hero that can come in here and make some sense against the Phoenix and Tiny. So you're going to have to look elsewhere now for GXR on spell immunity. Maybe they could try the Lifestealer themselves with a Spirit Bomb on the Storm. 496 go into the Tide. So it's just all the combinations now. Ravage plus Egg. You've got a lot of early aggression coming through. The Tide Hunter is going to enjoy most melee matchups in his own safe in that off lane as well. So GXR will have to watch themselves. There's a good pace here from 496. They can play around. And once they have that blink up on the Tiny, they will look to buy that space for the AM.
Quickly remembering to actually turn on the predictions for Game 3. We'll get that done right now, Jonathan. GXR, one pos one to go before we can start this Game 3. Wondering what they do go for In Your Dream this time around. It looks like it's going to be the Slark. Okay, so they've got the Tide counter in a sense. With that Slark, you could obviously steal a lot of Essence Shift away from the Tide. Can make that BB's life just a little bit harder in that off lane, but we'll see how he does try to deal with it. It looks like he is probably going to have Yassi with him on the Hoodwink, so maybe with the Hoodwink he can kind of equal out the lane Of course, In Your Dream is going to have the Dark Pack, though, to purge off all those disables, and that may kind of make it impossible to control In Your Dream this game. But John, having a look at both drafts, I'm going to ask you the hard question, sir. Who came out with the better draft, in your opinion?
In terms of drafting, I'd say it's leaning towards even, maybe just slightly better for 496. I think their team fight's just a lot stronger here because of the Ravage Egg combo, and even the synergy with Bushwhack and Acorn Shot with the Egg on top from Yassi. They have a lot of ways of locking heroes down. For Galaxy Racer, they do have to kind of play around with the DPXO, so we need to see them go from fights to push, take some towers out, start to try to prevent this AM from becoming way too big. Once Drew is up and running, I think the core matchup against Slark, it's not bad for Slark, but the big issue here is there's so much AoE damage from 496. They've got Avalanche, they've got Sunray, they've got the break from Hoodwink. If you land your shot, you're not going to get that passive regen on the Slark. So there's a lot of ways for 496 to just kind of fight back here, and I think they have more openings to abuse the draft coming out from GXR.
Fair enough, John. We'll see how it does pan out. GXR versus 496, game number 3. Of course, winner of this will be able to pull off the series victory and, again, kind of alter their placing throughout the group stages. But we'll move into a game number 3.
Lose together, win together, slay together.
There it is again, unsurprisingly.
Lose together, win together.
And I gotta tell you, John, I always have a bit of a chuckle to myself when I look at the chat and I see people asking why GH is casting. So maybe GH and I, we might be lost long brothers from a while back. I'm not sure, but I guess there is an uncanny resemblance to myself and GH. There you go, John.
Yeah.
I'll take it as a compliment. Yeah. I like it.
It is. I don't think it's not a compliment. GH is a great looking fella. He's a handsome guy.
Very
handsome
John.
guy.
Like me.
Has that, yeah, the jawlines there, the beards there. Always good to see. Looks like both sides are going to be just grouping around mid. Love that sticker from the VP sticker. Is this a joke? It's a nice bear.
Just
Love the sticker.
I never saw, did Alliance come out with the sticker for the whole the loader is that balance thing? I feel like that'd be a pretty nice one, but I don't know if they got it. They have the voice
I'm
line.
not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, it feels like, I don't know if you're allowed to change, because you still have the EG one with a really weird alpha channel and RTZ, so, I don't know if they can correct it or change stuff, but maybe next season if it's not in here. Still, looks like an even trade in the bounties. No excitement so far, both teams just avoiding some early aggression. A bit of a nice start for 496. They've got their deep wards. This time for GXR, no D ward. So they will maintain some rune control here for Alacrity, which is super important for the mid matchup. Of course, Storm doesn't want to fall too far behind in the bottle refills. Speaking of that mid, up against Hung and Tiny, we talked about it a bit. But Tiny should be able to still get some last hits out with a tree grab. He gets additional range on his right clicks. It's a bit safer. Alacrity, once he gets overload, can sort of harass out, but he'll be limited by his mana pool. So gonna have to watch how much and how often he kind of dives in for some of that harassment there.
We'll have a quick gander at the mid lane as well, John. Alacrity there along with Hung. But now Alacrity having a pretty nice time. 4-0 in terms of CS. Hung 1-0 at the moment, so a bit of a slower start for the Tiny. See if he can kind of just catch up to Alacrity, as you never really want to see the Storm getting too far ahead if you can avoid it. And of course, you've also got the top lane. We've got In Your Dream with 3-4-3 up against that BB and Yassi. I'm very curious to see how 496 can try and make this work, as it does feel like GXR should have somewhat of an advantage in this lane with the Slark. See if they can really make it work, as you can see a lot of harassment being pumped out the way of In Your Dream. And that is one thing that they can kind of do against In Your Dream, is just keep gushing away and allowing Yassi to get the right-click damage off. That should allow you to at least annoy In Your Dream up until that level 6 mark on the Slarker's bottom lane. Mizu's going to drop.
You've just achieved
First blood goes the way of Bombi on the Phoenix, and that was not something I was quite expecting to happen, but well, there you go. They managed to make it work.
Yeah, it's just Bombi Phoenix. You give the guy Phoenix, he plays it so many times. He's probably the best, one of the best Phoenixes in the region. So they just have that great start. First blood coming through again for 496. Gold injection is going to be important. You're buying out a pretty free lane for your AM. So Drew just gets to focus on last hits. Doesn't need to care about what happens. Paulson can't really find the angles. That's always a bit of a worry. You want your Earth Spirit to be able to enable some aggression, but it just doesn't feel like Mizu's set. And he doesn't have the silence up, so you don't have the follow-up control after a roll beyond the Earth Spirit silence. And that just doesn't feel enough to lock in an AM.
That it does not.
Love this part.
Alacrity. I believe he may have just gotten both water runes for himself, and yeah, it looks like he did. So a bit of bad news again for Hung, missing out on both the runes. Meanwhile, bottom lane again, Mizu dropping quite low, but top lane, the same is happening. DapBB does end up dropping. Looks like Bombi does drop down to the bot side. Mizu is allowed to salve up and will continue the harassment out onto Drew. And now mid lane, a bit of a fight breaking out as Alacrity gets extremely low with the Avalanche toss combo. But just barely survives with the slither of HP. It's going to be a little bit annoying for Hung, but at least he can just farm the lane by himself now.
Yeah, he gets some space out. Alacrity's just being efficient. He was close enough to his bounty rune that he picks it up. So he's going to be pretty healthy back in lane. Eats down a couple of tangos and keeps up in farm with a small camp stacked up. So you're not missing out on too much there with one wave. And you're starting to see the aggression coming out from GXR. They're hitting their leveled spikes. They've got the chain control. They've got options to play with. And for 496, they do have to respect that. Although up top,
They do find 343 in your dream. He's going to try and get those Essence Shift stacks going his way, but 496 with 2 heroes against 1 can stand their ground. In your dream, not really able to get as much done as you would have hoped. He is still farming quite nicely, but you look at the harassment out with this Gush setup, and there's the bushwhack. Right on the edge from Yassi. And that's one thing you have to be very careful of. You're going to have that Dark Pack going before you see that net. Unfortunately, that was not the case for In Your Dream.
and they're punishing that Slark. That's first death for In Your Dream, but the lane has been a bit tough. He's not finding as much CS as Drew. He is at least, well, at least he's got 1 permanent Agi stack, but it's not much. You need more if you're looking for early aggression, and this just kind of sets up. Down mid, you can see Hong still being aggressive on the Tiny. Every single time he has a chance to get Avalanche Toss, he will go for it. Alacrity's not that tanky on the Storm, and now that he's empty on his bottle, he's going to have to really watch for Hong. If he finds an opening, he's going to go for it.
Outside. Bombi very far forward onto Mizu. Polison's looking for the right moment to try and roll in, but doesn't bother going for it. Now he does. He'll go on to Drew. Do they get the silence? Not quite. In fact, they don't even have the silence yet. Thought Mizu or Polison may have gone for a value point, but neither one has it. Suppose the AM is going to be very safe for now. Drew will just continue to farm very nicely on the AM. There's not really much going on for him here. He's just CSing very safely.
Yeah, and he's not really being stopped. It's basically a free lane. He's at 30 CS, 31 to 6. Mizu just can't stop him. Drew's already got the value point in the counter spell, so there's some magic resist. And up top,
Yeah, there's the bushwhack again, and once that locks you down, it gets very hard to try and get away, but In Your Dream is going to try and help out. The Acorn shot not bouncing the right way. Yassi into the tree line. They do break the trees, and they get the cold feet. They will be able to secure the kill in the end.
Dire's middle tower is
Meanwhile, mid Hung, he's going for a bit of a chase on Alacrity, who has no mana left. In fact, he's diving the T1 tower with the clip up on the creep. They are really wanting this kill. They do spot him out now, but Alacrity has healed up some of that mana. And in the end, does manage to juke them out. Polison now going to rotate in with the roll. It's going to help secure the kill there for Alacrity. 496, they get the much shorter end of the stick in that mid lane.
yeah, that was very aggressive coming out from Hung. Not respecting the power rune on Alacrity, not respecting the double damage, getting kited out way too far, and overstepping their bounds. So maybe overestimating their burst potential there. That does give GXR a slight net worth lead, and it's on the hero they really need kills on. You want your Storm to hit them, nice fast Orchid timing, and just kind of take control after that point. That does allow 496 to rotate out Yassi bot, It doesn't feel like Drew really needs this, though. He's still free farming for the most part. But you are seeing In Your Dream actually catch up. In Your Dream slightly ahead in net worth overall, about 100 gold above. So even with this kind of free farm lane for Drew, and even with all the aggression coming out from top, you're not really getting that gold advantage early on just yet for 496.
No, that you are not. It is one of those things though, right? Like once Drew gets the Battle Fury on that anti-mage, that's when you're really going to start seeing him kind of skyrocket in terms of net worth. And my concern for GXR is Drew is farming a bit too freely. Like, while he is still behind In Your Dream, I don't think they really want this anti-mage to be that big and to be able to split push that many lanes with the great farm he is getting. But they just aren't able to lock him down. He's still farming just very freely. And even if they do get the silence, I suppose you always have the Sunray there from Bombi to make it that much more difficult to try and secure the kill on that AM. They might try soon, as they do have at least a point in silence on Polison. It's probably not going to be enough time. In fact, Hung's here now with the Avalanche toss. Polison's going to survive the initial onslaught, but a very nice blink forward will block the roll there from Drew. Meanwhile, mid lane, there's a bit of a chase going on. Alacrity going to try and chase down Yassi. He's just going to try and run away. Alacrity running out of mana, but should have enough. And he's going to be able to secure the kill in the end. So 1-for-1 trade across the map on both position 4s. I suppose Alacrity going to feel pretty nice getting that pick off on the Storm.
Yeah, he's not going to be too happy about losing his courier, though. So a couple of those items going to be stalled out. I believe he had a couple of Sage's masks coming true. And just going to have to wait for that now, which means you're going to have less mana regen, at least less natural mana regen on hand, which is always a bit of a pain for Alacrity. But he does have bottle control, rune control with the bounties. Same thing for Hung, playing in that opposite triangle. They do have vision of Alacrity though, so he's not completely safe here.
I see. Copper hit there from Alacrity. He's just going to keep tabs on the Storm for now. Mid lane, Hung, roll, going to connect very nicely from Polison into the silence and the Ice Blast. Yassi, he'll take the damage as well. Earn out from Polison, but Drew's here now with a big mana void out. It's just not going to be enough damage though. It's a bit too early for Drew. He's going to try and find a way out, and in fact, he barely does. As now Bombi's going to Icarus dive in and give his own life away to ensure that Drew gets out, and he'll take Polison with him. Drew, it was a nice attempt. With the mana void, he thought maybe I could blow up Alacrity, as he had no mana left, but it just proved to not be enough yet.
Yeah, and they do manage to get some good punishment. They can use a little bit of this Exo on the mid-tier one, but it will fade soon. You can't really get that pressure on that objective as you'd like, but you're kind of happy for GXR. First Exorcism use finds you some pretty nice kills, forces out a response. That's time where Drew's not farming. Still needs to work onto the Battle Fury. Should still be fairly quick. He went for the Power Treads, did not finish the Wraith Band, but it's only 2 parts away from full D3, so it's at that point when you can really start to take over compared to the Slark. And speaking of that Slark, In Your Dream has been left alone up top. They should look to abuse that soon.
They should. Yeah, see, having a look around for In Your Dream again. Get spotted soon. The Slark needs to be a little bit careful here. Looks like he has not made it too obvious he's around, and now he'll show up, but he kind of backed off. BB kind of pump faking the Ravage now, trying to get In Your Dream to use that Dark Pack, but they do get the Bushwhack instead into the Ravage, and now the Avalanche is there, but you got the Shadow Dance. Yassi, Sharpshooter, not going to land. A nice pounce away, but there's your toss in. In Your Dream, not out of the woods yet. He's going to try for the TP.
What?
And he barely makes it out. The tree does not connect onto the body of the Slark. And that BP, I would be mad too if I was him, because that tree toss, it looked like it made it in time.
Oh yeah, that was maybe one frame. Now we're going to roll back in.
That they do with the silence out now from Polison. The lockdown Hung. They will at least get a nice Bushwhack off. It's just not going to be enough though. That's a big pick off on your mid-tiny. Alacrity, he is really starting to become a problem now in this storm, as he's going to have that Orchid up soon. And once that Orchid's up, even heroes like the AM are not going to feel very safe. It won't have anything to really counter out the Orchid. Even with the Mana Void, you're not really going to want to try and fight back into the storm with that silence.
No, it's a massive risk. And oh, Bombi.
Not enough mana on Alacrity. I don't think he'll keep the chase up, but 343 does run into him now. Bombi still has the Haste Root and Icarus Dive. Does end up catching out the roll into the egg. What a nice sharpshooter from a mile away, but they probably will still lose the egg. The Bushwhack was not there in time. And that Bushwhack landed. They may have actually had enough damage to clear them out. But the egg does go down beforehand. Still Hung is in. Nice blink from Hung does ensure they get the storm kill in the end. That's what you want to see out from 496.
Yeah, they get the good punishment off. They get the storm kill to even out when Hung died. And this is that spike for the Tiny. He gets his blink up. He's going for the Yulet's next to have some sort of a dispel on hand from silences and prevent them from just really holding them down with all those silences on hand. So you're big on the Tiny. This is when you need to look to make plays. Maybe look for the next egg as your timing for forcing a big team fight. GXR can't afford to just really sit back. All this time they've been finding those other kills. Drew's just free farming. His Battle Fury is just one part away, about 500 gold. And there's another blink up in 496. Dat BB's got his ready on the Tide. So they will have to look to play around with that, and they're already lining up for top.
They do. Polison to get caught out. Hung is there. The sharpshooter will be enough from Yassi. From the backside, though, they are going to group up now onto Drew. They love the AMs, the counter spell. Going to be there in time. Alacrity still having a look. Is not going to be able to find the one he wanted, but he'll get Bombi, and they might even find Yassi now. So he'll try to run through the tree line, but he actually might make it out. Hung, he's in with an avalanche. Now the Bushwhack again. In fact, there's your Mana Void and the Ravager from that BB. Will be enough to lock down Alacrity. Mizu gonna try and run with the Spirit Siphons, but Hung is gonna chase him down. He has the Avalanche toss combo in just a second, and he'll get the toss back on the DP. Mizu, he's gonna pop the ulti and really try to fight this one out by himself. Polison has joined in. He'll chase down the Tiny. Does he have enough damage though? They'll get the Magnetize off. It might just be enough. The egg is there, but they'll run out of range. Polison is gonna roll away. Mizu being caught by that BB, the Sunray doing quite a bit of damage. Mizu though going to turn around with the Spirit Siphon again, and now In Your Dream does join in. They'll find the Tide Hunter. And somehow Mizu survives through it all. I thought that was going to be a very bad ulti, but they could not burst him down in time.
Yeah, that was on the edge. Very even in terms of the heroes that did die, 3 for 3. You are slightly ahead there from GXR, finding those kills, so you find the punishment, you hold on, you get at least an additional stack in Your Dream. He only has 2 permanent Agi, not the most aggressive Slark so far, but he has his Diffusal up. So you can look to play, he can look to force out some movement with the Inhibit, and try to hunt some heroes down if they want to. And they should be aware, without Ravage and Egg, 496 are not going to be keen to fight in. They could look to make something happen in this downtime.
GXR look like they're the ones who want to fight. Down to bot lane, that BB gets purged up. There's a zip in from Alacrity, and you've got the Ice Blast. Just to follow up and make sure they secure the kill. Nice little pick up there for GXR. Rest of 496, they're going to start grouping up at that top side of the map and try to get that tier 1 tower going down. Looks like Drew will be able to get it done by himself, and they might even get a little bit greedier here, starting to move into that tier 2. I doubt they'll fully commit though. If you're Drew right now on this anti-mage, you're just kind of focused in on farming that Battle Fury, and they might try Polison. He's stuck around. They do go for the greedier play, and it is going to work out. They blow him up. But while they did that, the mid tier 1 is about to be pushed in. They may not have enough abilities off cooldown to actually be able to try and defend this. In fact, Ravage did just come off cooldown, but now that BB's in danger, they make the jump in, and there goes your Ravage. In fact, they found Bobby as well. You don't want to lose the egg like this either, but they have no choice in the matter. And now Hung's joined in, 1 by 1. They'll march down into the mid lane, but it is not going to be to their victory. So the Yules is out, they get the pounce in, and that'll be another one. Hung will drop on the Tiny, and well, that was just not the way to do it. They just walked in single file to get cleaned up.
Not the way you want that defense to go. With a respawn's coming up shortly, though, they will have Ravage and Egg. So they could still make it in time for the defense, and GXR might have to be a bit cautious and overcommitting for this push now.
But they've still got the Exorcism up. They're just trying to hold on to it. Maybe use it later on for another tower, or maybe even the Roshan. And yeah, they're going to leave it. They'll force everyone from 496 to go into that mid lane. Eventually, 496, they are going to smoke up. So they want to try and use this timing. Try and get something big done, but we are going to have a quick pause out from Yassi, as it does look like he might be struggling from some net issues. Still, it is a very close game, but with the way GXR is going right now, with that 3k net worth lead, you've got to start being a lot more careful if you're 496, because Drew is just not anywhere near farmed enough yet to really be that impactful on this anti-mage.
And he still needs a lot of space out. Working towards a Manta, that's going to help with a lot of silences. So once you have that, maybe you show up to a couple of these fights more often. 496, they could also set up for the Roche here. They have the big advantage in fighting that tight spot. I mean, GXR has some AoE control with the Ice Blast, maybe with the silence coming through from DP, and I guess Magnetized from the Earth Spirit, but it's nothing like a Ravage Egg. So if they wanted to actually completely force that, they could go in. They're just going to lack damage without the AM, so that means Drew will have to commit as well, which is risky and not quite what the AM wants to do. They could look for a pick-off. They are smoking a blind here. They don't have vision in that top jungle, so they're gonna have to count on luck, and Mizu is sticking around. They could try to punish him if he oversteps, but just camping the pit.
They seem to think maybe the Roshan was going to get started here, but 496, they're going to move their way up towards the top lane. Mizu is pretty much the only one showing on the map right now, so it's their only option. The only problem being, though, is he is by the T2 tower, so they could rotate if they try for this. Mizu will get jumped on now. That BB does commit the Ravage. He is still alive, though. Mizu is not going to drop it now. In Your Dream comes in right on the Phoenix. Can they burst the egg down in time? In Your Dream is trying, and he does get it done by himself. In the end, Mizu, he does drop, but for what cost? More coming in now, Hung. Avalanche toss is going to land. In Your Dream, no Shadow Dance is going to drop, but now they'll try to go onto Drew. He just blinked in, but it is going to be off cooldown again, but they get the silencers off in time with the Magnetize. It's not going to be enough damage, Drew. He will still be fine. Instead, back onto that BB they go, but that BB, he will stand his ground as Drew comes in for a Mana Void. He will get Polison with that Mana Void damage. And Alacrity, he is completely out of mana now. Great kiting around from 496, and Drew just blinks right into Alacrity. Ice Blast is not going to land, apart from maybe Hung. Avalanche is not going to land either, though. Alacrity still juking around. Might be able to turn now with Mizu. They'll try with the silence. They will miss that. Looks like Drew has already made his escape out. And somehow Hung jukes his way out of the tree line. GXR, they are not able to capitalize whatsoever unless Hung does stick around, gets the Avalanche toss, tries the TP. Alacrity, he did not have the mana for the Vortex.
Really unfortunate. Would have been a nice pick-off towards the end. Very back and forth fight. 496 holding on to some heroes. Drew, again, showing up early without the Manta, but they don't have enough Magic Burst to really eat through. I'm sure Orchid damage comes through. Drew has max counter spell. He's got 45% max resistance.
Oh, Hung. Gonna be too excited here, John. Jumping in onto Polison, but he didn't have the damage output, and it's gonna cost him his life. Onto Yassi they go. The Hoodwink really not that tanky. He's just gonna get bursted down as now as they want another. They want Bombi. Egg up in 2 seconds if he wants to commit it, but I don't think he will. And he won't have the choice anyway. As Alacrity gets the Orchid off.
Thanks for playing.
Cleans him up.
Double kill.
They even get that mid-tier 1 tower thanks to In Your Dream. And by the way, John, Mizu still has the ulti, so they are going to go into the Roshan pit.
That's going to be big. It's scouted out by the wards, though. They should know the Roche is coming through. Ravage is going to be up in 2 seconds. They could make their way now, but it's a bit too late. The Roche should be able to follow at a good pace. They are slowly TPing in. We'll see if they actually commit for the big fight.
I think they've got to try. Especially when you've got all your ultis up, and they are indeed, but Yassi is going to get caught early on. That'll be your Hoodwink gone. He does buy a little bit of time for the rest of the team to get over there. Sunray out, but immediately they jump in with a big stun out. There's your Ravage, but it doesn't do anything. Hung's been caught. They'll manage to get 3-4-3 in the backside, but they've lost so much. It just seemed like they were lacking a way to get into the Roshan pit once their Hoodwink was gone. You did have the blink on DPC, but they all got caught in the same area. He had no choice but to use the Ravage. Just an absolute disaster for 496's. The GXR, they've got a 5k net worth lead now.
They're feeling good. It was a bit of a slower start from the lanes for GXR. They're finding that farm, they're finding their power spikes. In Your Dream is still ahead of Drew. And we were talking about the AM overtaking once the Battle Fury is up. It's not quite there. Drew's been forced to join a couple of these fights, forced to come in for the Mana Void.
Yassi. He's been caught. Alacrity got his haste rune and got the kill onto the Hoodwink. I think Alacrity's starting to feel a little bit too comfortable here on this storm. As we've kind of noticed, John Drew, he's been trying to join these team fights, and he does manage to usually get a support kill, but the big one he wants is Alacrity, and he's going to be spotted now into the silence. He does counterspell and blinks away, but they have the roll back. It's still Hung, going to jump in with an avalanche toss onto 3-4-3. The Icarus dive, the egg at the backside. Alacrity, he can't get rid of the egg by himself. He needs some help, but the Yules was there. The stun is out. Do they have the damage to burst him down? Not quite. The kickback to the high ground. It may have been enough. They'll try and turn Hung. He's trying. He will get the Aegis, but it is only going to be the first life. GXR once again still coming out on top. The best that 496 got out of that was the Aegis on the Storm, but it's not going to feel worthwhile. Not when you lose the AM and the Tiny. And now your tier 2 mid tower is under siege.
This is scary. Exorcism's top, they've got the fourth fight.
Oh,
no.
They've lost Yassi too. He was trying to split push the bot lane, but Alacrity on the Storm, he's just too farmed up now. He could just be anywhere on the map. Ice Blast comes in, Mizu. He's got 4 stuffed in by Bombi, I believe, but we'll back off.
Yeah, it's a bit scary now for 496. You still need more farm on Drew. Like, the Manta alone's not enough to save. You saw that the follow-up control, the stacking of silences from GXR is really on point. They're disciplined about their execution. They know what they have to do to stop an AM with Manta. They've got the BKB up on Alacrity. There's a smoke play coming through here from 496. They don't have Egg, but they've got Ravage. They need to make something happen in a clean fight here.
They can try. No Exorcism up. This could be the time to go. 496 still smoked in that mid laner, looking towards Mizu, but the smoke is going to break on Hung. Drew just straight up blinks in, trying to bait them forward. But GXR, they don't take the bait. Instead, they go for the backside onto Yassi again. The Hoodwink's gone. DPC has the Ravage, but the BKBs are out from Alacrity. They are going straight after Bombi instead, and now DPC gets hit with the Ice Blast. Onto the Tiny they go. Hung gonna try and find a way out, but there is no way out. He's gone. Very clean kind of game here from GXR as they now move on to the high ground. And there isn't really much in the way of stopping this tier 3 tower from dropping.
They don't have the defense. Once the respawn's up, they've got Ravage and Egg. They might just have to drop that tier 3, maybe the melee racks or the range racks as well before that can come in. And just kind of forced in an awkward spot. They smoked, they couldn't find the opening. GXR was in the right angle to counteract, and they just clean up from there. Alacrity with a BKB holding off the Ravage use, and yeah, they play it safe. They just pull back after the melee racks. Don't opt to play greedy. They know they've got a big lead here.
Drew's got to be careful. Polison's having a look around. They saw him take that tier 1 mid tower. No, he's going to be fine. He'll just blink right away into the jungle again. There's not much he could have done to really help in the defense. There's now the side of 496. They're going to start moving in. See what they can get done here. They've got all their ultis up. It's just so hard to expect them to be able to find a pick-off. Especially when you've got 2 BKBs up now on GXR. In fact, make it 3. So you've got one now coming out in your dream. Still on the courier, but they might start the fight early anyway. They just don't seem to need it. There's Hung, gonna be rolled on. Paulison, he gets a double silence off into the Ice Blast. It's gonna fly through, but it does connect onto the Tiny. That's gonna be him gone again. Who else have they found? They're chasing down that BB. Roll, it will connect. Nice easy line there for Paulison. Your dream. In fact, 3-4-3, the one to take the kill on the AA. And but that BB is just trying to keep himself sane with these voice lines, but it's not looking great for them, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, they're trying to split push with Drew at the least, and they can't really go for the top lane, or even the bot lane because they're still tier 2. So the side of GXR can't really progress on the high ground unless they go back further. Just a range rack doesn't feel worthwhile. They clear the bot tier 2, maybe look for more. They are starting to go back though. They know they've got to take care of this AM problem.
They'll find out the mid AM is an illusion. Bombi gonna sneak into the backside. However, they found Drew. They get the stun off. They have the follow-up. Bombi tried to help. He goes for the Icarus Knife TP out. Oh, a bit of panic here from 496.
Is under attack.
It's just not looking great. 15k deficit now for the Radiant side. It's so hard to imagine them being able to come back now. The best they have is someone like Drew being able to split push the other lanes. Tung is trying to do that. Roll was on target, but wasn't going to reach anyway. Now, GXR, they definitely want that bottom tier 3 tower. There are buybacks and the respawns are low, but I think with all their ultis up, they should feel confident to move in. Unless they want to wait out the next Roshan, which is also a possibility.
Middle barracks are under attack.
And it looks like they are going to go ahead and push out the top lane instead.
I think in this case, fighting high ground into 496's whole roster is still scary. You have to worry about Ravage, worry about Egg. If they actually use those spells properly, it can be a bit messy for GXR, especially if you can't preemptively pop your BKBs. They're just gonna go for the safer play, clear out the top lane, ensuring that if they do win a team fight, they can go for more objectives and not just stop one, or at least open up the map a bit more.
Zip in. Again, you'd love to see the spinning star immediately, and they do. Bombi just never has the chance to be able to get that egg off in a team fight anymore as Hung gets a throwback onto Paulison, but nobody's blocking the roll. Just rolls right out of there. Gives Bombi the tip for some reason. Poor old Bombi. Man's done nothing wrong this game, but he's just confident now from Paulison. 496, they're still going to be looking for an answer.
Dire's middle tower is under
Yeah,
attack.
I mean, they're trying to get Drew to do this AM thing now, running around, split push, force the waves back and cut some creep waves so not too much objectives can get taken out. And he does have his full Scotty up, so it feels a bit better here for Drew. He still needs more. Like, Scotty's nice, you need a lot more in AM. You want to really be 6 slotted before these major fights, although...
Yes, he's been caught. Ice Blast not going to land. It will onto that BB instead. The toss back, though, will save the day, and they will just force staff out. But Paulison, he's right in onto the high ground, and now they might just take the fight. Why the hell not? Magnetize. It's going to be popped. Hung is still dropping quite low, but is going to survive on 40 HP. Hung, no, he does die. A big Ravage, though, with the egg. They do kill off Paulison. Mizu dropping low himself, but he's still alive. The Spirit Siphons just healing him up. They end up getting that BB. Drew is trying so desperately. He does get the DP in the end, but he's been leashed up with the cold feet. He's going to trade his life away for that. Oh, it just took too long to get Mizu.
Radiant's middle barracks are under attack.
Yeah, basically a solo Ravage Egg. And they commit onto one. They already found a support kill at that point. And they're just going to be able to clean up the racks, go for the top, go for the bot if they want to. And without these big spells, The defense
They
from
call it.
496 is just isn't good enough. Yeah, they just call. They know they can't fight. And GXR, they managed to bounce in. 496, they went for the AM. A bit of a cheeky fountain dive to close out. With 496, went back for the AM to counteract the storm. They went for the tiny mid as well to lane against that. It just didn't feel great. They had the big team fight with Ravage Egg, but you saw GXR. They knew they had to kill off either the Phoenix or the Tide first before the fights broke out, and without that combo, they didn't have enough. There was just not enough damage coming through in the team fights from 496, and we saw Drew come in for some early ganks as well, and he'd jump in, he'd get Mana Void off. He wouldn't really compensate for the lack of farm. Like, he'd find support kills. Maybe once or twice he found a Lacketeer in your dream or Mizu, but not often enough to justify that for the AM. So game plan just fell a bit flat for 496. That does mean GXR, they get a little bit more. I believe that does hammer them above 496 now, so they get a bit more, a bigger share at the least, of that prize pool here in the lower div.
That they do, and they do have another series on tomorrow as well, I believe, GXR. They're going to be up against Motivate Trust, so if they can beat them somehow, they might even make a bit more money for themselves. But nevertheless, we'll have to wait and see for that one. Of course, that is going to be on tomorrow. By the way, for the viewers watching, of course, this isn't the end for SEA Dota tonight. There is 2 upper division series going on very, very soon.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, one of them is scheduled to start 1 minute from now. I think PGL might be just waiting for us to end our stream so they can start theirs. Hopefully their stream does start very soon, and of course, right after we're done with this stream, we will go ahead and raid PGL or just host them, whichever one's preferable. But they aren't online yet. Still, that game should be starting very, very soon. And John, do we have any kind of winners interview?
We have Paulson ready to come in. He's on standby, so we can go ahead and drag him up.
Excellent.
Had a great time there.
Good evening,
Hello,
Mr.
Paulson.
Paulson. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Congratulations on your victory. Obviously, a pretty dominant game number 3 occurring there. How are you feeling during Game 2? I've got to ask you that question, because Game 1, you guys looked amazing. And then Game 2 came around, and suddenly 496, they just looked like they were on fire. Could you kind of run us through what happened in that Game 2?
Game 2, I think, from my perspective, I feel like we were not doing well in our lanes, which is why they could run over us. What I think is we should not die in lanes, that's all.
Nope.
We should play better in lanes, yeah.
Fair enough. Season's about to close out here, Paulson. Looks like GXR is hammered in to at least keep their spot in the lower div. How are you guys feeling, like, as it closes out? Are you guys happy with your performance? Do you think there's some room to grow here? What can we expect for the upcoming season as well?
There are definitely a lot of room for improvements, and we are kind of not really happy with the results that we are getting, because we are expecting a top two placing, but it's fine. We are playing for tier qualifiers. We are looking at tier qualifiers with because now we have a 6-man roster, and then we'll look into the best option that it will give us for the tier qualifiers.
Nice.
Yep, fair enough. Yeah, we did actually notice that, right? Like, I believe it's In Your Dream and Alacrity were shifting out for a different tournament as well. So, looking forward to see how the roster does shake up by the time that next season rolls out. Speaking of, because we're closing out the season, I'm not sure if you've had a lot of time to watch the upper div. How are you feeling the entire region's doing? Like, outside of just your team, but how do you think the region will do going into those TI quals? You guys feeling great about the region? You think it's competitive?
C region itself?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like in C we are kind of lagging behind as compared to the other regions. As personally, I play in the Singapore major, and I felt like the C teams are one league below the other foreign teams, like the Chinese teams and the European and NA teams. Like, they understand how to play the game way better than C teams. C teams is they are skilled, but then they kind of lack the knowledge to play the game.
Right, so you think it's
Fair
maybe a captaining issue in that case? Because I've heard the same thing. Like, the mechanics in SEA are pretty high, but the captaining maybe, or just the knowledge itself, seems to be the problem when it comes to the international stage. That
Mm,
seems.
I think that captain plays a part, but then Dota is a five man game. You have to understand the game together as a team, like instead of just like one person itself.
I see.
Captain can do a lot of things in terms of like providing a lot of insights and teaching the team how the captains want to like play the game. But then
Okay.
he can't do everything.
Of
You
course.
need your entire team to like to have the this vision of what the captains has
I see.
in order to play the game as well as the tier 1 teams.
Fair enough.
Yes. Mhm.
Before we do go on, tomorrow you guys are up against Motivate Trust, and that's going to be the final series of the lower division for SEA. How are you feeling going into that matchup? I mean, Motivate Trust, they did come first throughout the whole season, so you have the last matchup with them. They haven't lost the series yet. Do you think you guys can take the first series off them?
Definitely. We played and other competes with them as well, and we screamed them as well. We felt like they are not as ahead of like other people think they are, but they are good, of course. Not putting them down. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. With that, Paulson, do you have any words to say to any fans of GXR before we let you go, sir?
Thank you for supporting us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Paulson. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
That was a lovely Paulson. Oh, it's good to talk to Paulson. We've been casting the man for such a long time, and I feel like we've never had the opportunity to speak to the man, but he does seem like a very genuine kind of person, doesn't he, Johnny? Just kind of straight to the point. You know, this is what's wrong with the region. This is what we need to improve. It's not just up to the captain. It's the whole team. It's a team effort. And one part I do kind of disagree with him with is I think SEA has gotten quite a lot better over, say, the last year, especially where the DPC has come in. But obviously, someone like Paulson, he's looking towards the bigger picture. He doesn't want just, we place top 6 or top 8. He wants SEA starting to get those first place victories at the major and being absolute competitors at the next TI. And I kind of agree with him in that sense. Like, it's nice to see improvement, but you want the big one. You want to say SEA got the major win or got the TI win. And God knows I'm still waiting out for an SEA TI win, John. I've been waiting for 9-10 years now. I'm still waiting, but I think it's coming soon.
Yeah, hopefully it will. I kind of like that mindset as well. Like, it sounds like you're putting yourself down, but it's really just looking for improvement because you're hungry. And that kind of hunger is always good to hear from a player. Hopefully the rest of the region's just as hungry as we are tying it down. And of course, we have those upper div games coming up. Gonna be a spicy day ahead. We do have TNC versus Fnatic as the big one, but first up, of course, that it is going to be Execration versus Lilgun. So, lots of good matches. Everyone's going to be looking for Fnatic TNC, though. 100%. That's the big one. The Giants of Sea up against each other, and this could actually really determine who does make to the major, how the placements end up, and what happens with tiebreakers. So there's going to be a lot on the line with this last, penultimate day of the upper div here in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, there is a lot of potential tiebreakers right now, and this matchup between Fnatic and TNC could make all the difference. So we are going to raid the PGL Twitch stream now, so once you see the screen go back to the standby, I'll throw the raid out, and you guys can go straight over to their channel and watch the upper division. And like we said, the first game should be starting any moment. I think they might even be in the draft now, or maybe just setting up for that first game to start. So for now, it is MLP Dota and Jonix Fire. We'll be back tomorrow on the same channel for the last lower division series tomorrow. But for tonight, please do stick around because we've got some hype series in the upper division. We'll see you there.